Chapter 1764. Fufufu. The blood refinement fiend emperor's expression changed and he suddenly burst into laughter. Initially, it was merely a chuckle. But towards the end, he reared his head in laughter. Ha! His laughter was loud and filled with a strong will that was deafening, spreading in all directions. Under normal circumstances, it would be a huge blow for the blood refinement fiend emperor to lose control of his third clone that he had painstakingly nurtured. Furthermore, this also meant that the blood refinement fiend emperor had lost to monk Daming this time round. This was even more unacceptable for the blood refinement fiend emperor. However, the blood refinement fiend emperor laughed instead of getting angry, as though he did not care about everything. Blood chi spread from his body with a torrential aura as he declared, "Daming, it doesn't matter even if I've miscalculated twice. I'll say the same thing again, the situation is still within my control. Although you've deciphered the blood refinement fiend sutra, you haven't defeated me. As long as I suppress you, I can still assimilate you completely with my fiend technique. At the end of the day, you won't be able to defeat me." Monk Daming shook his head gently. "I'm afraid it won't be that easy to suppress me." The blood refinement fiend emperor declared proudly, "I know your strength best. Even if you've absorbed endless bloodlines during the War of the 10,000 Races, a single clone of mine is enough to suppress you." Monk Daming smiled. "Blood refinement fiend, this is your third miscalculation." The blood refinement fiend emperor narrowed his gaze slightly. Monk Daming remarked indifferently, "You've missed out on someone." "Impossible." The blood refinement fiend emperor declared resolutely, "I've planned for 40,000 years and all the paragons and monster incarnates of Tianhuang mainland are within my sights without exception." Monk Daming turned around and said to the void, "I can only deal with one of your clones. I'll leave the true body and the other clone to you." It was clear that Monk Daming was talking to someone. However, there was nothing in that space. It was completely empty. The many emperors could not see anyone either. The blood refinement fiend emperor narrowed his eyes and a scarlet glint danced in his eyes. He released his spirit consciousness and enveloped the void, sealing it completely. "There's no one?" A look of confusion flashed through the blood refinement fiend emperor's eyes. Based on his understanding of Monk Daming would never do such a thing. However, was there anyone in Tianhuang mainland who could hide from his senses? At this moment, there was a sudden commotion in the void. The entire space was like a lake, and there were traces of ripples. From the ripples in the void, a person slowly walked out. This person was dressed in a purple robe with a shawl. His face was shrouded in a layer of mist, blurring his features. In an instant, countless gazes were focused on the purple-robed man. Who is this person? What's his cultivation? Many rulers were confused. Back then, Wu Dao's original body had only snatched the cultivation techniques and secret skills of Heavenly Dipper Sect, Malevolent Earth Sect, and Penglai Island during the convention. None of the rulers present had seen him before. The thing that surprised the emperors the most was that not only were they unable to see through the mist on this person's face, they were even unable to detect this person's cultivation. Everything about this person was a mystery. The old storyteller secretly pinched his fingers to deduce. It wasn't long before the old man's entire body shook. He could not deduce at all. Back then, even when he was trying to deduce Su Zimo, he could still make out some clues. However, he gave up halfway. As for this person, he could not find any clues at all. The blood refinement fiend emperor's expression changed as well. That was because even he could not tell the background and cultivation of this purple-robed man. However, the blood refinement fiend emperor was not worried. The world of Tianhuang mainland was already perfected and the laws of heaven and earth were perfected. There was no way this person was an expert of the upper world. Since this person was from the lower world, the blood refinement fiend emperor believed that he could suppress the other party given his capabilities. "Who are you?" The blood refinement fiend emperor narrowed his eyes and asked coldly. Before Wu Dao's original body replied, Monk Daming smiled gently. "Blood refinement fiend, just now, I've said that you've underestimated Wu Huang." "Araki Takashi?" The blood refinement fiend emperor frowned. What does this person have to do with Araki Takashi? On the other hand, Wu Dao's original body was surprised as he glanced sideways at Monk Daming and asked with a smile, "When did you find out?" "In the ancient battlefield," Monk Daming replied. "Back then, after we came out of seclusion as emperors and killed Du and the corpse emperor, I mentioned your existence to your Qinglian's true body." Although your Qinglian's true body was surprised, she appeared too calm and wasn't curious at all. At that time I already guessed it. Wu Dao's original body could not help but exclaim internally. He had to admit that Monk Daming was indeed the smartest and most talented cultivator he had ever met. The fact that he could decipher the blood refinement fiend sutra alone was enough to prove his strength and could be considered as a peerless talent. Since Monk Daming had pointed it out, there was no need for Wu Dao's original body to hide anymore. The fog on his face dissipated gradually, revealing his true appearance. Initially, the emperors were confused when they heard the conversation between Wu Dao's original body and Monk Daming. However, when Wu Dao's original body revealed his true appearance, it caused an uproar. How is that possible? The emperors widened their eyes in disbelief. The old storyteller's mouth was slightly agape as well as his gaze darted between the Dragon Phoenix's true body, Qinglian's true body and Wu Dao's original body. Could this be Wu Huang's third true body? The blood refinement fiend emperor was indeed a formidable figure of his generation. After a momentary shock, he regained his composure and glared at Wu Dao's original body coldly. "Interesting," the blood refinement fiend emperor smiled. "To think that your clone would have hidden so deeply that even I wouldn't be able to detect it." The blood refinement fiend emperor channeled his fiend technique secretly and his eyes shone with a scarlet light as he tried to control Wu Dao's original body. There's no need to try. Wu Dao's original body saw through the blood refinement fiend emperor's intentions and said indifferently, "Your fiend technique is useless against me." The birth of Wu Dao's original body was an anomaly to begin with. This true body was condensed from Wu Dao's fruit and contained the will of Wu Dao, the faith of all living beings and many other powers. However, there was no trace of the blood refinement fiend sutra on it at all. Good. The blood refinement fiend emperor nodded repeatedly. To think that there would still be a variable after my 40,000 years of planning. However, it doesn't matter. Let's see if there's anyone in Tianhuang mainland who can defend against my massacre. Blood chi surged from the bodies of the blood refinement fiend emperor, the Tao and demon emperor and the constellation immortal emperor. Behind the three of them, a menacing and evil blood face appeared and roared in all directions. A massive battle broke out instantly. The old storyteller, Long Ran and the others found the group of blood slaves that had submitted to the blood refinement fiend emperor right away. The blood refinement fiend emperor and his two clones could only be left to Wu Dao's original body and Monk Daming. Even the night spirit could not interfere in a battle of that level. Book Abode's reading website. Chapter 1765. In a flash, Monk Daming charged towards star constellation Immortal Emperor. Given his combat strength, it was already his limit to hold back a single clone of the blood refinement fiend emperor. He had cultivated for way too short a period of time. It had only been slightly more than 1,000 years since he was reborn and came out of seclusion. Both of them used the blood refinement fiend sutra as their foundations. No matter how talented he was, it was difficult for him to make up for the difference of 10,000 years. Among the two clones of the blood refinement fiend emperor, star constellation immortal emperor had cultivated for the shorter period of time. Therefore, Monk Daming directly sought out star constellation immortal emperor. Wu Dao's true body strode towards the blood refinement fiend emperor. Although he seemed slow, he arrived before the blood refinement fiend emperor in the blink of an eye. The blood refinement fiend emperor glared at Wu Dao's true body with a cold expression. Both of them attacked at the same time. Wu Dao's true body gripped his fists and his blood chi surged as though a gigantic furnace was burning furiously with immense power. The blood refinement fiend emperor's body was filled with blood chi and his entire body was drenched in blood. He threw out a punch as well. That punch seemed like a sea of blood that flooded towards Wu Dao's true body. Boom! The two fists collided with a deafening bang. Heaven and earth shook. At that moment, the entire battlefield seemed to have come to a standstill and time seemed to have stopped. This was not only a clash of strength between the two of them, but also a clash between water and fire. Wu Dao's true body's punch was like a volcanic eruption that released a terrifying scorching power. The blood refinement fiend emperor's punch was like a tidal wave that created waves of blood. The two people's fists collided head-on, and they were actually evenly matched. There was no clear winner. Neither of them took a single step back. In truth, the blood refinement fiend emperor's combat strength far surpassed both his clones and the knowledge of ordinary cultivators. His strength could not be measured by the number of supreme divine powers he had comprehended. That was because of the existence of the blood refinement fiend sutra. The blood refinement fiend emperor could refine his bloodline endlessly and refine his flesh and essence spirit. In other words, there was almost no limit to the blood refinement fiend emperor's strength. After 40,000 years of cultivation, it was not hard to imagine what kind of level the blood-refining demon emperor had reached. It was not an exaggeration to say that even if the storyteller old man and the other emperors unleashed their ultimate techniques, the blood-refining demon emperor would still be able to shatter them into pieces with a casual slap. On the other hand, the combat strength of Wu Dao's main body couldn't be judged by common sense as well. Wu Dao's true body had refined hundreds of scriptures and tens of thousands of arts. There was no limit to his strength. What was more, Wu Dao himself had created a new cultivation method, the Fate Wheel Secret Realm. It was safe to say that Wu Dao's original body and the blood-refining demon emperor had both reached the peak of the strength of the lower worlds and were infinitely close to the Xian deities in the upper worlds. The biggest difference between them and the Xian immortals of the upper realm was that they did not undergo any tribulations and did not have the vital qi of heaven and earth in their bodies. The clash of the two fists truly shocked the blood-refining demon emperor. He truly had not expected that there would be someone in Tianhuang mainland who could defend against his power. What was even more frightening was that he could sense an extremely terrifying aura emanating from Wu Dao's original body that seemed as though it wanted to incinerate and refine everything. In fact, he might even be incinerated by it. The blood-refining demon emperor felt threatened. However, he did not allow Bai and demon emperor's clone to join forces with him to fight Wu Dao's original body. That was because the blood-refining demon emperor realized that even if he joined forces with Bai and demon emperor, they might not be able to suppress Wu Dao's original body. However, if Bai and demon emperor and star constellation immortal emperor were to join forces, they could suppress Monk Daming within a short period of time. That way, he would be able to refine a third clone after subduing Monk Daming. At that time, his fiend technique would be at greater mastery and his combat strength would increase exponentially. He would definitely be able to kill Wu Dao's original body. The blood-refining demon emperor's heart skipped a beat. Bai and demon emperor who was initially charging towards Wu Dao's original body suddenly turned around and charged towards Monk Daming. Humph! Although Wu Dao's original body had his back facing Bai and demon emperor, he sensed what was happening and retreated explosively. Instantly, he arrived behind Bai and demon emperor and grabbed towards the latter's gigantic head. Sensing danger, Bai and demon emperor dodged hurriedly. However, Wu Dao's original body was extremely fast and descended instantly, slapping Bai and demon emperor on the shoulder. Exclamation point! Wu Dao's original body channeled strength through his fingers and pierced Bai and demon emperor's flesh like a sharp blade, causing a flash of blood. Wu Dao's original body raised his arm and grabbed Bai and demon emperor's shoulder, smashing him down viciously. Boom! There was a deafening bang that shook the world. Bai and demon emperor's gigantic body that was thousands of feet tall was flung heavily onto the ground by Wu Dao's original body, creating a gigantic pit. It was an extremely shocking scene. It was as though a tiny mayfly had uprooted a towering ancient tree and smashed it heavily onto the ground. It was an absolute suppression in terms of strength. Bai and demon emperor was in excruciating pain as his tendons and bones felt like they were about to rupture. In the blink of an eye, his body that was thousands of feet tall reverted to the normal height of a human. Although Bai and Demon Emperor's body was massive and had a terrifying aura with a ferocious burst of strength, he was too clumsy and could not dodge at all against Wu Dao's original body. Hence, Bai and Demon Emperor was forced to shrink his body. Right then, the blood refinement fiend Emperor charged forward once more and swung the thin fishing rod in his hands towards Wu Dao's original body. A white light that was incomparably dazzling shot through the night sky like a bolt of lightning. The outer skin of the fishing rod shattered silently, revealing a cold sharpness within. That was no fishing rod. It was a sharp and thin knife. At the same time, on another battlefield, Monk Daming and star constellation Immortal Emperor exchanged blows continuously in melee combat. However, Monk Daming was forced to retreat repeatedly as his organs and blood chi churned. He was completely disadvantaged. Monk Daming had a strong physique and terrifying blood chi. In the past, he could even fight against Wu Dao's original body in melee combat. But now, he was completely suppressed by star constellation Immortal Emperor. Star constellation Immortal Emperor had cultivated for way too long, at least 20,000 years more than Monk Daming. In terms of melee combat techniques, Star Constellation Immortal Emperor was not disadvantaged at all. If this continued, Monk Daming would definitely be beaten to death by Star Constellation Immortal Emperor in melee combat. Monk Daming retreated continuously. Suddenly, he bit his finger and the blood of an emperor seeped out from his fingertip. Monk Daming channeled his essence spirit and his eyes shone brightly with a chilling killing intent. Waving his blood-stained finger, he wrote a blood-colored word rapidly in front of him. Kill. It was the supreme divine power of the ancient human emperor, the kill word art. A terrifying and tyrannical power of divine ability filled the air. The word kill was formed instantly and contained an extremely terrifying killing power. It charged towards star constellation Immortal Emperor in an attempt to kill her. Fufu. Star constellation Immortal Emperor sneered and channeled her essence spirit as well. Extending her arm, she pointed at the incoming kill word art and shouted, "Star transposition." It was also a supreme divine power, star transposition. After the divine power was released, a strange divine power shrouded the kill word art. Suddenly, Star Constellation Immortal Emperor turned around and pointed at Wu Dao's original body on the other side of the battlefield. The kill word art changed its direction and charged towards Wu Dao's original body. Chapter 1766. Stellar Transposition was a peerless divine ability. Although it did not have a strong offensive power, it was not to be underestimated. The kill symbol art was one of the most terrifying divine abilities among the peerless divine abilities. However, its target was changed by stellar transposition. The kill symbol art did not pose any threat to star constellation Immortal Emperor. Instead, it targeted Wu Dao's true body. At the same time, the saber in the hands of the blood refinement demon emperor turned into a white beam of light and descended. The shrunken demon emperor emitted a demonic aura and a bloody aura as he lunged towards Wu Dao's true body as well. The situation was changing rapidly. At that instant, it was equivalent to the blood refinement demon emperor and his two clones joining forces to launch a ferocious attack against Wu Dao's true body. 1 against 3. Wu Dao's true body took a deep breath and his eyes shone brightly. Without even looking at the kill symbol art that was approaching from behind, he threw a punch in reverse. At the same time, he breathed out a white mist. The white mist emitted an extremely sharp intent and murderous intent. It condensed into two divine beasts, a divine dragon and a soaring serpent, in midair and charged towards Demon Emperor C. The white mist that Wu Dao's true body breathed out was no ordinary sword chi. It was the sword chi condensed from the earth-slaying sword art. At the same time, Wu Dao's true body extended his fist and punched towards the saber. Clang. The sound of metal clashing could be heard when the saber landed on the fist of Wu Dao's true body. The fist of Wu Dao's true body was undamaged. The blood refinement demon emperor's heart skipped a beat. The flesh of Wu Dao's true body was tempered by the martial spirit fire all year round. It was like a gigantic furnace that refined thousands of arts and was indestructible. The flesh of Wu Dao's true body could suppress all Dharma treasures in Tianhuang mainland. Even the human emperor's seal could not hurt Wu Dao's true body in the slightest. Before the blood refinement demon emperor could withdraw his saber, Wu Dao's true body suddenly changed his move. His entire arm turned soft and powerless as it wrapped around the saber like the trunk of an elephant. Wu Dao's true body's arm curled, shook, and pulled. The blood-refining demon emperor shuddered. He felt a terrifying twisting, vibrating, and tearing power erupt from his palm through the long saber in his hand. The area between the blood-refining demon emperor's thumb and index finger was instantly torn apart. Blood gushed out, and the saber flew out of his hand. This long saber of the blood-refining demon emperor was indeed an excellent magic treasure. If it were an ordinary magical treasure, it would have been directly smashed into a pile of scrap metal by Wu Dao's real body. The long saber fell. On the other side, the kill symbol art collided with Wu Dao's fist. The incomparably sharp power of the divine ability kept tearing at the arms and fists of Wu Dao's true body, trying to tear his flesh to shreds. However, Wu Dao himself remained unmoved. His blood chi burst forth and shattered the kill symbol art with a single punch, dispersing it into nothingness. Demon Emperor Bai released his innate divine ability and tore apart the divine dragons and soaring serpents conjured by the earth-slaying sword chi before glaring at Wu Dao's true body with murderous intent. Fighting 1 against 3, Wu Dao's true body neutralized all 3 of their attacks. Of course, Wu Dao's true body did not dare to be careless either. In fact, he did not dare to reveal his trump card easily. That was because the blood-refining demon emperor must have a powerful backup plan. On the other side, Monk Daming released his supreme divine ability once more and fought against star constellation Immortal Emperor. Kill! The blood-refining demon emperor charged towards Wu Dao's true body with a dense blood chi and said coldly, "I refuse to believe that my 40,000 years of cultivation can't compare to a late-stage cultivator like you who's more than 1,000 years old." Demon Emperor Bai attacked at the same time. Wu Dao's true body was fearless. With a bright gaze, he strode towards the 2 emperors and punched. Boom! It was as though a volcano had erupted within Wu Dao's true body. That punch was as violent as fire and released a suffocating power. Bang! 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 The blood-refining Demon Emperor and Demon Emperor Bai exchanged blows with Wu Dao's true body consecutively. In melee combat, it was a clash of strength without any techniques. The consecutive head-on collisions caused power to splatter everywhere and blood chi to be devoured. Wu Dao's true body stood in midair with his black hair fluttering. His gaze was like a torch, and he was not disadvantaged at all despite fighting 2 against 1. On the battlefield between the 3 of them, the voids were torn apart and riddled with holes. The 3 of them were almost out of the world of Tianhuang mainland and were in the turbulence of the void. Their figures were faintly discernible through the shattered voids. It had to be said that the blood-refining demon emperor's 40,000 years of cultivation was truly terrifying. After refining his bloodline continuously for so many years, the blood-refining demon emperor's physique and blood chi had already reached an unimaginable level. The power released by a casual punch from Wu Dao's true body was enough to shatter a dermic treasure. However, the blood-refining demon emperor was able to take on Wu Dao's true body in melee combat. The 2 of them attacked faster and more ferociously. In the blink of an eye, they had already exchanged more than 1,000 blows. This was not only a clash of strength, but also a clash of blood chi and stamina. One had to know that the 2 of them had consumed a great deal of energy from the clash of their attacks. The blood-refining demon emperor had 40,000 years of cultivation as his foundation and naturally had a turbulent bloodline, long aura and powerful stamina. As for Wu Dao's true body, he cultivated the Wu Dao technique and tempered his body year in and year out. With the refinement of his martial spirit, his body was like a gigantic furnace with blazing flames that burned increasingly fiercely. The 2 of them were able to remain unscathed even after exchanging 1,000 blows. As for Demon Emperor Bai at the side, he merely received the occasional punch from Wu Dao's true body. By now, his face was already frighteningly pale and his flesh was lacerated and he was drenched in blood. During this period of time, his body was shattered and reformed by the power of Wu Dao's true body multiple times. However, the battle between the three of them showed no signs of stopping. Kill! The blood-refining demon emperor growled deeply and his blood qi surged. Gushing out, it conjured a gigantic menacing blood face behind him that lunged towards Wu Dao's true body. Bloodline phenomenon. At the same time, Demon Emperor Bai conjured a blood face phenomenon as well. Two blood faces descended with an extremely evil aura. Burn! Wu Dao's true body channeled his blood qi at the same time and he seemed to have vanished. In his place was a gigantic furnace that burned with raging flames and was almost transparent. The blood faces collided with Wu Dao's furnace and let out a series of ear-piercing screams. The bloodline phenomenons of the three of them collided. Initially, it was difficult to determine a victor. However, after half an incense's time, the two blood faces could no longer withstand the burning of Wu Dao's furnace and gradually withered in defeat. Fight! Wu Dao's true body revealed itself once more and hollered. His aura surged and he attacked once more, enveloping the blood-refining Demon Emperor and Demon Emperor Bai. Wu Dao's true body became more ferocious the more he fought. The martial Dao was about advancing courageously, about advancing bravely and fiercely. In that exchange, Wu Dao's will was tempered to an even stronger state. The strength of Wu Dao's true body was rising continuously as well. The cycle went on. Gradually, the blood-refining Demon Emperor was at a disadvantage and retaliated less and more defensively. Demon Emperor Bai was no match for him and retreated repeatedly. Wu Dao's true body was invincible and domineering against two opponents single-handedly. Like an emperor descending with a domineering might, he suppressed the blood-refining Demon Emperor and Demon Emperor Bai completely. 2K Reading Network. Chapter 1767. The fight between the other emperors did not pose much of a threat to the human emperors. After all, Night Spirit had comprehended two supreme divine powers and was almost invincible among the emperors. However, the outcome of the situation here could not affect the overall situation. The only way for Tianhuang mainland to escape this catastrophe was to kill the blood refinement fiend emperor completely. The emperors were not involved and could see clearly that although Wu Dao's true body was suppressing the blood refinement fiend emperor and Bai and demon emperor in a 1 versus 2 situation. However, it was impossible for him to kill the blood refinement fiend emperor completely within a short period of time. On the other side, the outcome of the fight between Monk Daming and star constellation Immortal Emperor was about to be decided. Monk Daming's cultivation time was still way too short. Although Monk Daming had deciphered the blood refinement fiend sutra and possessed many profoundness of the Buddhist monasteries, it was still difficult to make up for the accumulation of tens of thousands of years. In terms of strength and divine powers, Monk Daming was disadvantaged. Up till this point of the battle, Monk Daming was already covered in injuries and was in a wretched state with severe blood qi depletion. However, star constellation Immortal Emperor was in a much better state. Her robes fluttered and every single move she made exuded an otherworldly aura. It was clear who was superior. The old storyteller was deeply worried. If Monk Daming was suppressed by star constellation Immortal Emperor, it would mean that Wu Dao's true body would have to take on 3 people single-handedly. More importantly, there was a high chance that the blood refinement fiend emperor would refine Monk Daming into his third clone. At that time, even Wu Dao's true body would not be a match for the blood refinement fiend emperor's fiend cultivation technique at the Mahayana level. Right then, another change happened on the 2 most critical battlefields. The blood refinement fiend emperor was suppressed by Wu Dao's true body and his eyes shone with a scarlet light. He could no longer hold it in. The Bai and demon emperor was in an even more tragic state and was drenched in blood. Retract! Suddenly, the blood refinement fiend emperor withdrew a fishing net from his storage bag. He bit the tip of his tongue and spat out a mouthful of essence blood onto the fishing net. Buzz! The fishing net shone with a scarlet light and turned into a blood-colored fishing net in the blink of an eye, exuding an extremely evil aura. The blood refinement fiend emperor flipped his hand. The blood-colored fishing net was about to envelop Wu Dao's true body. Wu Dao's main body frowned slightly. His figure flickered and dodged to the side. Through his spiritual perception, Wu Dao's true body felt that this blood-red fishing net was not easy to deal with. However, no matter how Wu Dao's true body flashed, it was difficult for him to escape the net's envelopment. Wu Dao's true body dodged continuously. Not only was he unable to break free from the crimson net, but he was also getting closer and closer to it. The blood-refining demon emperor smiled coldly and said, "This blood net is a secret technique of the upper realm. It has been refined for 40,000 years. Even if you have the ability to fly, you won't be able to escape." As his voice fell, the blood-red fishing net descended and enveloped Wu Dao's true body. The moment the blood-red fishing net came into contact with Wu Dao's true body, it directly stuck to it and continuously tightened. Break! Wu Dao's true body's blood qi surged and his body expanded. His flesh expanded and he wanted to burst forth with the power within his body to break free from the blood-red fishing net. However, as his body expanded, the blood-red fishing net expanded as well. His power had no effect on the blood-red fishing net at all. The fishing net was soft to begin with. Wu Dao's true body's power was the strongest and was coincidentally countered by the fishing net. Although Wu Dao's true body's power was ferocious, the fishing net was spread out and negated it. Not only that, the blood-red fishing net emitted an evil blood qi when it got close to Wu Dao's true body. It seeped into Wu Dao's true body through his purple robes. Wu Dao's true body frowned slightly. That blood-red fishing net was indeed somewhat frightening. If he could not break free from the fishing net, he might even be assimilated and devoured by the blood refinement fiend emperor, let alone kill him. The situation changed once more. In the blink of an eye, Wu Dao's true body was in a passive position. On the other side, although Monk Daming looked dispirited, he had no intention of retreating. His gaze was still benevolent as he looked at star constellation Immortal Emperor who was not far away. Monk Daming pressed his palms together and closed his eyes, chanting Sanskrit. All of a sudden, one after another, tall and sacred Buddhas appeared around star constellation Immortal Emperor. They shone brightly with a boundless might. Every single Buddha was chanting Sanskrit sutras that reverberated through the world. Gradually, the phantoms of divine dragons and divine elephants appeared around those Buddhas. The divine dragons roared and the divine elephants trumpeted. It was the strongest supreme divine power of the Buddhist monasteries, Buddha Dragon Elephant. One could only comprehend the Buddha Dragon Elephant with the deepest comprehension of the Buddhist Dharma and the fusion of many profundities of the Buddhist monasteries. Even Qinglian's true body had not comprehended that supreme divine power. In Tianhuang mainland, Monk Daming was the only one who had managed to do it. The Buddha Dragon Elephant descended and suppressed star constellation Immortal Emperor with a terrifying power. Stars fall. Star constellation Immortal Emperor had a grim expression and did not dare to be careless as she released her supreme divine power hurriedly. Instantly, the world trembled. Above the firmaments, countless stars streaked down with terrifying auras and descended towards Tianhuang mainland with streaks of flames. However, the Buddhas were protected by their Buddhist lights and dragon elephants. Those stars could not shake the power of the Buddhas. Nether Blood Shield. Star constellation Immortal Emperor's expression changed starkly as she realized that a single supreme divine power could not shake the Buddha Dragon Elephant. Immediately, she released a second supreme divine power. The moment the Buddha Dragon Elephant appeared, star constellation Immortal Emperor had to release two supreme divine powers consecutively to defend against it. Boom, boom, boom. The power of the Buddhas collided with the stars. Countless Sanskrit sutras suppressed star constellation Immortal Emperor. Countless sacred Buddhist lights descended, wanting to purify star constellation Immortal Emperor. However, star constellation Immortal Emperor reacted extremely quickly and condensed a shimmering blood-colored shield above her head, shielding her behind it. Countless Sanskrit sutras and Buddhist lights landed on the nether blood shield, creating ripples. Star constellation Immortal Emperor's face was pale. This was the first time he felt threatened by Monk Daming. Thankfully, His cultivation was extremely high and he managed to defend against the Buddha dragon elephant with the help of 2 supreme divine powers. Since he managed to defend against it, it was time for Monk Daming to die. On the other side of the battlefield. When Wu Dao's true body sensed that, he was invigorated as well. The martial spirit fire within his body burned furiously and he seemed to have transformed into a gigantic furnace that wanted to burn the blood-colored fishing net into ashes. However, the blood-colored fishing net released streams of blood qi that resisted Wu Dao's furnace. Wu Dao's furnace could not incinerate it right away. When the blood refinement fiend emperor saw that, he frowned slightly and felt uneasy. I can't delay this any longer. I've got to resolve everything as soon as possible. The blood refinement fiend emperor's eyes shone with a blood light. Blood-boiling spear. Almost at the same time, the blood refinement fiend emperor and demon emperor channeled their essence spirits and released their supreme divine powers. A blood-dripping spear was formed in the palms of the 2 emperors. Their bloodlines surged and they emitted hot air as they hurled it towards Wu Dao's true body. Chapter 1768. The blood net shrunk continuously and blood qi spread, restricting the movements of Wu Dao's true body. If it were just 2 supreme divine powers, they wouldn't be able to pose any threat to Wu Dao's true body. However, within the blood net, Wu Dao's true body could not release his strength at all. His body was soaked in blood and his strength was greatly suppressed. 2 spears condensed from blood tore through the air with a scorching aura. Those 2 supreme divine powers were unable to kill Wu Dao's true body yet. However, if he could not break free from the blood net, Wu Dao's true body would be akin to a live target. The blood refinement fiend emperor and demon monarch C would attack continuously with ferocious attacks. Wu Dao's true body might not be able to withstand it either. At that thought, Wu Dao's true body channeled his essence spirit and an incomparably scorching power of divine powers burst forth from his body, causing scarlet flames to burst forth from his body. The blood refinement fiend emperor narrowed his gaze and his heart skipped a beat. This kind of crimson-red flame made his heart palpitate. Incinerate the heavens and boil the seas? Dragon phoenix flames? No! The blood refinement fiend emperor denied internally. Those flames were definitely not the 2 types mentioned above. That was a divine power that he had never seen before. In the blink of an eye, the 2 blood refinement spears had already arrived before Wu Dao's true body. However, when the 2 supreme divine powers collided with the flames on Wu Dao's true body, they were incinerated instantly like snow meeting the blazing sun and dissipated into nothingness. The 2 supreme divine powers failed to injure Wu Dao's true body at all. Wu Dao's true body burned with flames, but his gaze was cold as he glared at the blood refinement fiend emperor not far away. A crystalline lotus that shone with red light gradually formed in his palm. It burned with flames and spun slowly. The blood light on the fishing net began to dim. The entire fishing net crackled as it was burned. It writhed madly, and its aura continued to weaken. After the blazing red lotus was formed, the blood-colored fishing net could no longer hold on, and a huge hole was burned into it. The magical equipment that the blood-refining fiend emperor had nurtured for 40,000 years was completely ruined and fell off from Wu Dao's body. Seeing this, the blood-refining demon emperor's eyes almost popped out of their sockets. Furious, he wanted to take action and retrieve the broken fishing net. Right at that moment, a voice sounded in the blood-refining demon emperor's mind. Don't go. It's karmic fire. The blood-refining demon emperor was slightly taken aback. This is the red lotus hellfire. Retreat. The voice in the blood-refining demon emperor's mind became somewhat grave. At this moment, Wu Dao threw the red lotus of hellfire at the blood-refining demon emperor. The red karmic fire lotus transformed into a beam of rainbow light and arrived in an instant. The blood-refining demon emperor hated the red lotus to the core. He immediately executed another exceptional skill, the blood demon giant palm, and grabbed at the red lotus of karmic fire. Don't touch it. The voice in the blood-refining demon emperor's mind sounded once more. However, it was too late. A gigantic blood-colored palm grabbed the red lotus of hellfire. It failed to injure the red lotus of hellfire at all. Instead, the blood-colored palm was burned full of holes. The blood-refining demon emperor's pupils constricted as he realized how powerful it was. He retreated, wanting to avoid the red lotus of hellfire. However, the karmic fire burned the blood-colored palm and extended along the exceptional skill. A tiny cluster of karmic fire landed on the blood-refining demon emperor's body. Where there was karma, there was karma. The karmic fire was like a catalyst. Although it was only a tiny flame, it ignited the karma on the blood-refining demon emperor's body instantly. Instantly, the blood-refining demon emperor's body burst into flames. For the past 40,000 years, the blood-refining demon emperor schemed against the 10,000 races and orchestrated 4 catastrophes single-handedly. His hands were stained with the blood of countless living beings. That was all bad karma. The more bad karma one had, the more terrifying the lethality of the karmic fire would be. In the blink of an eye, the blood-refining demon emperor was burned into a gigantic fireball that engulfed his body completely. The blood-refining demon emperor's tragic cries sounded from within the fireball in extreme pain. The red lotus of karmic fire slammed into the blood-refining demon emperor, almost piercing through his body. Exclamation point! The blood-refining demon emperor spat out a mouthful of blood that was incinerated by the karmic fire before it could even splatter. At the side, demon emperor Bai was shocked and hid at the side hurriedly, not daring to advance. Before long, the tragic cries from the gigantic fireball came to an abrupt end. The blood-refining demon emperor is dead? The emperors were shocked. If the blood-refining demon emperor was dead, given the combat strength of Wu Dao's true body, even if demon emperor Bai and star constellation immortal emperor joined forces, they would not be a match for him. Wu Dao's true body frowned slightly. He was the only one who knew that the blood-refining demon emperor was not dead. If the blood-refining demon emperor was dead, the dragon phoenix true body and Qinglian true body would break free from the restraints of the blood refinement fiend sutra. Right now, the 2 true bodies were still resisting the power of the blood refinement fiend sutra and could barely fend for themselves. The gigantic karmic fire gradually dimmed. The blood-refining demon emperor's figure reappeared. The blood-refining demon emperor looked extremely wretched. His flesh was lacerated from the karmic fire and his flesh was mangled. However, a powerful life force aura emanated from his body. Furthermore, that aura was still rising rapidly. Wu Dao's true body focused his gaze. The blood-refining demon emperor was wearing a blood mask. The blood mask emanated a powerful fiend chi that surged into the blood-refining demon emperor's body endlessly and repaired his body. The blood-refining demon emperor's injuries healed at a speed visible to the naked eye. The blood mask was the reason why Wu Dao's true body's karmic fire was suppressed. Araki Takashi, you've truly surprised me. Through the mask, the blood-refining demon emperor's voice was filled with deep hatred as he said coldly, "Let's see what else you have up your sleeves." Before his sentence was completed, torrential blood chi emanated from the blood-refining demon emperor's body and charged towards Wu Dao's true body. The blood-refining demon emperor punched. Wu Dao's true body punched out as well and received the attack. Boom! There was a deafening sound. Wu Dao's true body shuddered and a series of crackling sounds could be heard from within his body, as though his bones were about to fall apart. Wu Dao's true body could not defend against the blood-refining demon emperor's punch and retreated 3 steps in succession. Wu Dao's true body's heart skipped a beat. After wearing the blood mask, the blood-refining demon emperor's strength increased exponentially and reached an extremely terrifying level, nearly injuring Wu Dao's true body. Not only that, the blood chi within the blood-refining demon emperor's body seemed to have a mind of its own as it extended towards Wu Dao's true body's arm through his fist. In the blink of an eye, the palm of Wu Dao's true body was already filled with blood vessels. Xing. The blood vessels contained an extremely evil power that corroded Wu Dao's true body's flesh and caused billowing smoke to rise. Wu Dao's true body had a grim expression. The blood-refining demon emperor had clearly made use of another type of power. Fiend chi flowed endlessly from the blood mask. With the augmentation of that power, the blood-refining Demon Emperor's combat strength increased exponentially. 2K Reading Network. Chapter 1769. Boom, boom, boom. 3 deafening sounds echoed from the body of Wu Dao's true body, as though he had broken free of some sort of shackles and opened a secret ground. 3 mysterious purple halos appeared behind Wu Dao's true body, condensing countless Daos and dermic powers. 3 fate wheels appeared. The aura of Wu Dao's true body surged and the power within his body rose rapidly. Enveloped by the 3 purple halos, Wu Dao's true body was like a true god that reigned supreme over the world. What's that? The blood refinement fiend emperor murmured softly with a bewildered expression. However, the voice did not sound this time round. That was because even the voice did not understand what the 3 spinning purple halos behind Wu Dao's true body represented. The appearance of the 3 fate wheels caused the blood-colored threads on the palm of Wu Dao's true body to disperse instantly and fall off. Fight! Wu Dao's true body hollered, and with 3 fate wheels behind him, he moved his feet and interweaved dermic powers to form the image of a turtle and snake. With a torrential aura, Wu Dao's true body descended before the blood refinement fiend emperor while stepping on the turtle and snake, throwing a punch. That punch was indestructible and unbreakable. The blood refinement fiend emperor raised his arms as well and channeled his blood chi. The blood mask released rumbling fiend chi that gathered on his arms as he clashed head-on with Wu Dao's true body. Boom! It was accompanied by an earth-shattering boom. Both of them took a step back each. Both Wu Dao's true body and the blood refinement fiend were already in the void turbulence. Their surroundings were dark and boundless. However, the power released by that punch still caused Tianhuang mainland to tremble. Ah! The blood refinement fiend emperor growled deeply. Suddenly, countless blood faces were released from the blood mask and surrounded Wu Dao's true body, biting wildly. The fate wheels behind Wu Dao's true body spun slowly. The moment the blood faces charged forward, they were destroyed by the 3 fate wheels. The 3 fate wheels of Wu Dao's true body could even crush dermic treasures in the world. Boom, boom, boom. The 2 of them charged together once more and exchanged blows continuously. Their chi and blood collided and their fists collided, erupting into a series of fierce attacks. From the start of the battle until now, the 2 of them had already given it their all without holding back. Although Wu Dao's original body had the upper hand, the blood-refining Demon Emperor had the help of the Crimson Mask. It was almost impossible for Wu Dao's original body to suppress him. Meanwhile, the blood-refining Demon Emperor was also unable to break free from Wu Dao's attacks. Wu Dao's true body held the upper hand. He directly launched a suffocating attack. Like a raging storm, he used his unparalleled strength and vast physical strength to completely suppress his opponent. Do you have a way or not? The blood-refining Demon Emperor roared inwardly, "You always brag about your background. Don't tell me you can't defeat this person from the lower world." My strength hasn't recovered at all. A voice echoed in the blood-refining Demon Emperor's mind. Besides, there's an upper limit to one's strength in the lower realm. I wonder what kind of technique this guy is practicing that allowed him to break through the upper limit. Even if we don't kill him, he's going to face the tribulation in the future. The blood-refining Demon Emperor grit his teeth and said, "We can't wait for his tribulation anymore. I'm suppressed by him right now and can't even break free. What's the point of telling me about the tribulation transcendence? You're also trash." The voice sneered, "I told you to refine that monk Daming long ago, but you refused to listen and allowed him to cultivate." Great, now that he has deciphered the blood refinement fiend sutra, there's a huge flaw in your fiend technique. If my fiend technique is perfected, there's no need to worry about not being able to kill this person. Sensing the danger on the blood-refining Demon Emperor's side, star constellation Immortal Emperor's attacks became even more ferocious. Monk Daming no longer had any trump cards left after deciphering the Buddha Dragon Elephant. Under star constellation Immortal Emperor's attacks, he was forced to retreat and his body was severely injured. Even with Monk Daming's self-healing abilities, it was difficult for him to recover within a short period of time. while Wu Dao's true body was fighting the blood-refining Demon Emperor, and Demon Emperor seized the opportunity to escape and charged towards Monk Daming. And Demon Emperor was prepared to join forces with Star Constellation Immortal Emperor to suppress Monk Daming as soon as possible. With that, the blood-refining Demon Emperor would be able to refine Monk Daming into his third clone and perfect his fiend technique and turn the tables. Monk Daming's expression was pale as he retreated continuously. However, his gaze was still benevolent and there was no hint of emotions in his eyes. Star Constellation Immortal Emperor strode forward and extended her gigantic palm, releasing an extremely ferocious power that seemed as though she wanted to pluck down the stars in the firmaments. It was the supreme divine power, Star Plucking Hand. The gigantic Star Plucking Hand crushed down towards Monk Daming. "It's time to end this." Monk Daming sighed gently and looked at Star Constellation Immortal Emperor who was not far away. Instead, he advanced and charged forward. "Do you have a death wish?" Star Constellation Immortal Emperor cursed. Naturally, he would not kill Monk Daming. All he had to do was restrain Monk Daming's essence spirit and release a secret skill to assimilate the latter completely. Monk Daming smiled gently and a destructive aura burst forth from his body. The aura was extremely violent and almost drowned Star Constellation Immortal Emperor. The moment Demon Emperor Bian charged forward, he realized that something was amiss. After all, he was a demon and his spirit perception was extraordinary. Without hesitation, he retreated. Suddenly, Star Constellation Immortal Emperor's eyes widened as though she realized something. Her eyes were filled with deep fear and even her voice trembled. "Heavenly Demon Disintegration." Monk Daming uttered 4 words. Boom. With that, Monk Daming's body exploded in front of Star Constellation Immortal Sovereign, creating a terrifying storm that engulfed Star Constellation Immortal Sovereign in an instant. At this moment, it was as though the world had stopped. Accompanied by that deafening sound, the entire battlefield of the Emperors shook violently. The Emperors turned to look at everything in disbelief. Right in front of the Emperors, Star Constellation Immortal Emperor was torn apart by the destructive storm. Her corpse was destroyed and even her essence spirit could not escape. Heavenly Demon Disintegration. The storyteller old man was shocked. The Heavenly Demon Disintegration was a legendary supreme divine power. It was said that the person who released that supreme divine power would die immediately. However, the moment it disintegrated, it would release an extremely powerful energy storm that would destroy everything in its surroundings and devour all life. No one would have thought that Monk Daming would actually be able to comprehend this peerless divine ability. At the same time, nobody expected Monk Daming to release the Heavenly Demon Disintegration without hesitation at this moment and die at the same time as Star Constellation Immortal Emperor. "No!" The blood refinement fiend Emperor roared when he sensed what happened in Tianhuang mainland. The death of Star Constellation Immortal Emperor meant that one of his clones had disappeared completely. More than that, it meant that there was an even greater flaw in his fiend technique. Of course, what the blood refinement fiend Emperor could not accept was the death of Monk Daming. More than that, it meant that there was an even greater flaw in his fiend technique. Of course, what the blood refinement fiend Emperor could not accept was the death of Monk Daming. Chapter 1770. Monk Daming was dead. The impact was not only limited to taking away a clone of the blood refinement fiend Emperor. More than that, Monk Daming's choice caused an irreparable flaw to appear in the blood refinement fiend Emperor's fiend cultivation technique, and he would never be able to attain perfection for the rest of his life. The two of them had been fighting for 40,000 years, and there was finally an outcome at this moment. Although Monk Daming had died, Monk Daming had won the battle between the two of them. The blood refinement fiend Emperor's aura weakened as though he was struck by lightning. Initially, the blood refinement fiend Emperor could barely restrain Su Zimo's 2 true bodies with the blood refinement fiend Sutra because they were not deeply fiendish. But now that Monk Daming and Star Constellation Immortal Emperor were dead, the blood refinement fiend Emperor's fiend cultivation technique was severely damaged. The auras of the two true bodies surged and they broke free from the restraints and influence of the Blood Refinement Fiend Sutra, awakening. The death of Monk Daming was a huge psychological blow to the Blood Refinement Fiend Emperor. In fact, a flaw even appeared in the Blood Refinement Fiend Emperor's Dao heart. While others might not be able to sense such a minute change, Wu Dao's true body, who was fighting the Blood Refinement Fiend Emperor, felt it the clearest. It was as though the Blood Refinement Fiend Emperor aged significantly at that moment, turning listless and lethargic. Su Zimo looked in the direction of Monk Daming's death in silence. It was empty and nothing was left behind. The human emperor's mirror, the grand primordium, ancient temple, and everything else had turned into ashes. All traces of Monk Daming vanished without a trace in the heavenly fiend disintegration. Su Zimo could not help but recall the scenes of his encounter with Monk Daming, as though everything happened yesterday. He could never understand Monk Daming. He did not know what Monk Daming was thinking about. Monk Daming cultivated the Blood Refinement Fiend Sutra and broke out of his coffin. His hands were stained with endless blood and he was no longer the compassionate monk of the past. However, there was still a Buddha nature left in Monk Daming's body. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been able to cultivate the strongest supreme divine power of the Buddhist monasteries, Dragon Elephant Buddha. Su Zimo did not know if Monk Daming was a Buddha or a fiend. It was only at this moment that he truly understood Monk Daming. From the moment Monk Daming broke out of the coffin, he had no intention of living. His only goal in life was to decipher the Blood Refinement Fiend Sutra and defeat the Blood Fiend. He had succeeded. Thus, in this battle, Monk Daming shaved off his long hair and returned to his former appearance. It was also because he was prepared to die. The heavenly fiend disintegration was a peerless divine ability of the fiend sections. However, on Monk Daming's body, it released the benevolence of the Buddhist sects. The old storyteller and all the rulers looked in the direction where Monk Daming had disappeared. Other than shock, there was only respect in their eyes. 1,000 years ago, when the eternal human emperor descended to the lower realm, he could clearly tell that Monk Daming cultivated in a fiendish technique. However, he still handed the human emperor mirror to Monk Daming. Perhaps it was because the human emperor had seen the compassion in the depths of Monk Daming's heart. Roar! Qinglian's dragon phoenix true body roared toward the sky, her blood and qi surging. Her dragon phoenix true body reverted to her true form and burned with dragon phoenix flames as she charged towards Bai and Demon Emperor. Qinglian's dragon phoenix true body grew 3 heads and 6 arms as well. Wielding many Dharma treasures in her hands, she suppressed Bai and Demon Emperor. The 2 dragon phoenix true bodies joined forces to fight Bai and Demon Emperor. Bang, bang, bang. The moment the 2 sides made contact, a deafening collision broke out. Under normal circumstances, Bai and Demon Emperor's combat strength was above Su Zimo's 2 Dragon Phoenix true bodies. However, in the earlier battle, Bai and Demon Emperor was heavily injured by Wu Dao's Dragon Phoenix true body. He was severely drained and his combat strength was greatly reduced. The death of star constellation Immortal Emperor affected him to a certain extent as well. Now that he was surrounded by Su Zimo's 2 Dragon Phoenix true bodies, he was instantly disadvantaged and retreated continuously as his injuries worsened. On the other side, in the void, "Brace yourself. Don't die here." The voice echoed in the blood-refining Demon Emperor's head again. This time, it sounded rather hurried as it berated, "I've helped you for 40,000 years, and I'm about to ascend. I don't want you to die here." The Blood Refinement Demon Emperor remained silent and did not reply. The attacks of Wu Dao's Dragon Phoenix true body were getting more ferocious. The Blood Refinement Demon Emperor retreated step by step. His fists were already mangled and he was coughing out blood continuously. The reason why he was still able to hold on right now was because of the continuous release of fiend qi from the blood mask. Hurry and run. Did you hear that? He won't be able to catch up to you with blood escape. With the help of your fiend technique, you'll definitely be able to make a comeback one day. The voice in the Blood Refinement Demon Emperor's mind continued and sounded increasingly anxious. There was still no reply from the Blood Refinement Demon Emperor. Wu Dao's Dragon Phoenix true body punched through the Blood Refinement Demon Emperor's defense and suddenly reached out to grab the latter's face. Let's see what sort of thing you are. The eyes of Wu Dao's Dragon Phoenix true body shone brightly as he hollered. As though it was sentient, the blood mask sensed danger and released rumbling fiend chi that formed a sword that pierced towards the palm of Wu Dao's Dragon Phoenix true body. Wu Dao's Dragon Phoenix true body clenched his fist tightly and crushed the fiend chi sword. Wu Dao's Dragon Phoenix true body strode forward and continued to grab at the blood mask. As long as the blood mask was removed, the Blood Refinement Demon Emperor would no longer be a threat. Seeing that there was no way to dodge, the blood mask fell off the Blood Refinement Demon Emperor's face on its own and transformed into a streak of blood light that sped into the distance. Where do you think you're going? The arm of Wu Dao's Dragon Phoenix true body suddenly expanded and his blood chi surged. His palm extended and expanded continuously, almost blotting out the entire sky. The palm of Wu Dao's Dragon Phoenix true body landed on the blood mask and dissipated most of the fiend chi on the mask. Every single punch or palm from Wu Dao's Dragon Phoenix true body contained shocking power that could destroy all dermic treasures. However, that palm strike did not manage to damage the blood mask at all. Wu Dao's Dragon Phoenix true body closed his fingers, wanting to restrain the blood mask first for refinement in the future. However, the moment he grabbed the blood mask, he felt a sharp pain in his palm. A flash of blood appeared. The blood mask broke free from the palm of Wu Dao's Dragon Phoenix true body. Not only that, the blood mask even cut a few wounds on the palm of Wu Dao's Dragon Phoenix true body that were dripping with blood. Even the Blood Refinement Demon Emperor's dermic treasure could not injure the body of Wu Dao's Dragon Phoenix true body. The blood mask managed to cut the palm of Wu Dao's Dragon Phoenix true body. Not only that, the fiend chi released by the blood mask tainted the wounds on the palm of Wu Dao's Dragon Phoenix true body. The flesh around the wounds turned greenish-black and could not heal easily. Wu Dao's Dragon Phoenix true body was secretly alarmed. Right then, Su Zimo's glabella shone and a gigantic tripod that was more than 10 feet tall flew out. It had 4 legs and 2 ears and was filled with cracks, exuding an ancient aura. The bronze square tripod transformed into a streak of light and crushed down on the blood mask. Suddenly, a frantic shriek sounded from the blood mask that was filled with fear. That tripod. Chapter 1771. The origin of the blood mask was unknown, but there was a high chance that it came from the upper world. Even Wu Dao's true body could not suppress it with his full strength, let alone Su Zimo's other dermic treasures. Although the bronze square tripod was filled with cracks and looked like it was completely crippled, it had been indestructible ever since Su Zimo obtained it. Even if it took on all the top-tier dermic treasures of Tianhuang mainland head-on, the bronze square tripod would not be damaged at all. Su Zimo did not think much when he summoned the bronze square tripod. He merely thought that he might be able to restrain the blood mask with the bronze square tripod so that Wu Dao's true body could think of a way to suppress it. To think that there would be a living being hidden within the blood mask with an intense reaction, as though it knew the bronze square tripod. If the blood mask came from the upper world, the bronze square tripod must be something of the upper world as well. Furthermore, the blood mask seemed to be extremely fearful of the bronze square tripod. Boom! The bronze square tripod descended suddenly and smashed onto the blood mask. A blood-curdling scream came from within the blood-red mask. The rumbling fiend chi around the blood mask was shattered by that single blow, and the blood on the mask was splattered everywhere. The blood rapidly condensed into a single drop of blood in midair that emitted an evil aura, wanting to attach itself to the mask once more. At that moment, Wu Dao's true body abandoned the Blood Refinement Fiend Emperor decisively and descended before lifting the bronze square tripod to suppress it once more. Boom! It was yet another deafening sound. The drop of blood was shattered by the bronze square tripod once more. Even though the drop of blood was recondensed, its blood glow was much dimmer. Wu Dao's true body reached out and trapped the remaining drop of blood in his palm. With a single thought, Wu Dao's true body closed his fingers and an impenetrable prison was formed in his palm. Although the drop of blood was dim, it was still extremely violent and shrouded in fiend qi. This drop of blood sometimes transformed into a strange and ferocious bloody face, and sometimes it condensed into a lifeless tombstone. It rampaged in the palm of the martial Dao true body, trying to break free from his grasp. Wu Dao sneered and condensed his martial soul fire and red lotus hellfire in his palms. The two flames burned at the same time. The drop of blood let out a miserable shriek. It was extremely painful. Even so, the two flames were still unable to completely refine it. He did not know the origin of this drop of blood, nor did he know whose blood it was. Even though it was only a single drop, it was still able to resist the power of the martial spirit fire and the red lotus fire. At this moment, the battle had yet to end. Wu Dao kept the prison and let his martial soul fire and karmic fire of the red lotus burn and refine the drop of blood. Although the two balls of flames were unable to refine it, they were still able to refine it. However, for this drop of blood to break free from the prison formed by Wu Dao's true body, it would be as difficult as ascending to the heavens. The martial Dao body picked up the mask that was floating in the air. Without the taint of the blood-red light, the mask returned to its original appearance. It was silvery white, and it was unknown what material it was made of, but it was slightly cool to the touch. Wu Dao clenched his fist tightly, intending to crush the mask and throw it away. However, the silver mask was perfectly fine. Wu Dao's true body could crush even an artifact into scrap metal, yet he could not even crush a mask that was as thin as a cicada's wing. The silver mask was clearly no ordinary artifact. Wu Dao kept the silver mask and tossed the bronze square cauldron back to Qinglian's true body. He then moved closer to the blood-refining demon emperor. Without the blood mask, the blood-refining demon emperor's aura weakened significantly. His strength was significantly weakened too. The injuries that he had accumulated during the battle with Wu Dao's true body were completely unleashed within a short period of time, causing him to age significantly. On the other side of the battlefield, against the combined attacks of the two true bodies, the Bai and Demon Emperor was already at the end of his rope. The Dragon Phoenix true body extended its menacing claws and lunged forward to engage the Bai and Demon Emperor in melee combat. It bit furiously and its innate divine powers were released repeatedly. Heaven and earth shook and the voids on the battlefield were filled with cracks. The Dragon Phoenix true body restrained the Bai and Demon Emperor tightly. Su Zimo received the bronze square cauldron tossed back by Wu Dao's true body. Raising the gigantic cauldron, he leaped into the air and smashed it viciously towards the Bai and Demon Emperor's head. Bang! The Bai and Demon Emperor could not dodge at all against the entanglement of the Dragon Phoenix true body. He could only tilt his head slightly to avoid being hit in his vitals. The bronze square cauldron smashed onto his shoulder heavily. Accompanied by a series of cracking sounds, the Bai and Demon Emperor's shoulder was smashed into smithereens. Roar! The Bai and Demon Emperor let out a painful roar. Half of his body was almost smashed into pieces by the bronze square cauldron. Exclamation point! The Dragon Phoenix true body seized the opportunity and chomped off the Bai and Demon Emperor's head. Blood spewed and splattered everywhere. The essence spirit of the Bai and Demon Emperor broke free from his shell. The moment it escaped, it saw a shadow looming over. The bronze square cauldron descended once more. Bang! The essence spirit of the Bai and Demon Emperor was destroyed on the spot by the bronze square cauldron. The blood refinement fiend Emperor's second clone was completely dead as well. After losing 2 clones in succession, the blood refinement fiend Emperor's combat strength decreased immensely after losing the blood mask. Blood fiend die. The gaze of Wu Dao's true body intensified and his attacks became even more ferocious. Punch after punch, he did not give the blood refinement fiend Emperor any chance to catch his breath. Bang! Finally, the blood refinement fiend Emperor could not hold on any longer and was punched heavily in the chest by Wu Dao's true body, breaking through his defenses. That punch almost severed the life force within the blood refinement fiend Emperor's body. The blood chi within the blood refinement fiend emperor's body deteriorated rapidly and his life force drained away. Right now, the blood refinement fiend emperor was no longer as glorious as before. His body was tattered, his hair was disheveled, and he was covered in injuries. He was at the end of his road. Fu. Suddenly, the blood refinement fiend emperor burst into laughter and murmured, "To think that I would still lose to you in the end. Ha!" It was clear that the blood refinement fiend emperor was not referring to Su Zimo. As his laughter subsided, the blood refinement fiend emperor suddenly raised his head and glared fiercely at Wu Dao's true body, snarling through clenched teeth, "Araki Takashi, if not for Monk Daming, you wouldn't have been able to defeat me." Wu Dao's true body was silent. If Monk Daming had not sacrificed himself to destroy one of the blood refinement fiend emperor's clones, the outcome of this battle would have been unpredictable. "That's fine too." The blood refinement fiend emperor suddenly smiled. "Since you're already dead, I'll make a move first. I'll follow you to the netherworld as well. Let's fight again when we reach Acheron's path." Realizing that the blood refinement fiend emperor was about to commit suicide, Wu Dao's true body arrived before the blood refinement fiend emperor in a flash and restrained his essence spirit. There were still many secrets about the blood refinement fiend emperor. Who was the creator of the blood refinement fiend sutra? What was the cloning technique that the blood refinement fiend emperor cultivated? What was the origin of that blood mask? Wu Dao's true body wanted to get an answer to all of those secrets. Chapter 1772. Wu Dao's true body's vast spirit consciousness descended and sealed the space around the blood refinement fiend emperor. Reaching out, he slapped the blood refinement fiend emperor's head. A blood-colored essence spirit was captured by Wu Dao's true body above the blood refinement fiend emperor's head. "What are you trying to do?" The blood refinement fiend emperor growled. Actually, he already had a premonition of what was about to happen. Without hesitation, a ball of light appeared in Wu Dao's true body's palm. A series of pitch-black chains grew from the ball of light and coiled around the essence spirit of the blood refinement fiend emperor. Up till this point of the battle, the blood refinement fiend emperor's essence spirit was weak and he had lost 2 of his clones consecutively. In fact, the death of Monk Daming had even affected his Dao heart. This was the best opportunity for him to use his soul-searching technique on the blood refinement fiend emperor. All sorts of memories surged into the mind of Wu Dao's true body instantly, flashing past his eyes like scrolls. The strange thing was that the memories of the blood refinement fiend emperor's childhood were a little blurry and were hidden in the depths of his memories. It was as though they were the parts that the blood refinement fiend emperor was most unwilling to touch and could not be seen clearly. Wu Dao's true body did not waste time on that and looked back immediately. By the time everything became clear, the blood refinement fiend emperor was already a teenager. However, his cultivation was already at the void reversion realm. It was clear how terrifying his talent was. The first thing that Wu Dao's true body saw was the blood refinement fiend emperor fighting against a Dharma Daojun. The Dharma Daojun was a middle-aged man with dark red hair that scattered casually. His features were handsome and his purple eyes seemed to exude a sinister charm. However, no matter how handsome his face was, it looked somewhat menacing at the moment as he glared at the blood refinement fiend emperor not far away with a furious expression. Wu Dao's true body could see clearly that the saber in the hands of the Dharma Daojun was none other than the Shura saber. That was the titular disciple of Shura sect back then. Although the blood-refining demon emperor was a descendant of the Bloodvine race, there was a huge gap between the two of them, and he was facing a titular disciple of the Shura sect. He was still heavily injured and lost his ability to fight, falling to the ground. At this moment, the blood-refining demon emperor didn't seem to be as terrifying as he was in the future. His face was still young and inexperienced. He bit his lip and glared viciously at the Dao Lord of the Shura sect without saying a word. "You little bastard, how dare you attack me?" The Shura Dao Lord let out a fierce roar. "Damn you!" Blood-refining demon emperor shouted. The Dao Lord of the Shura sect did not say anything. He merely stared at the blood refinement fiend emperor coldly. No one knew what he was thinking as his expression kept changing. A moment later, the Tao Lord of Shura sect wielded his Shura saber and walked towards the blood refinement fiend emperor with a dark gaze with a hint of killing intent. He said coldly, "Those who aren't of our race will definitely have ulterior motives. Indeed, I can't let you live." As he spoke, the Tao Lord of Shura sect had already arrived before the blood refinement fiend emperor and raised his Shura saber, about to slash down. Right then, the world quaked. Wu Dao's true body focused his gaze. Two items fell from the firmaments. One of them was the bronze square tripod. The other was the blood face mask. The bronze square tripod fell towards the north region of Tianhuang mainland. As though sensing something, the blood mask flew towards the blood refinement fiend emperor instantly. Clang. The Tao Lord of Shura sect slashed down but failed to slice the blood refinement fiend emperor's head into two. Instead, it bounced off the blood mask. That person shuddered. As for the blood refinement fiend emperor, he put on the blood mask and suddenly shot up from the ground. The blood refinement fiend emperor burst forth with a terrifying power and raised the broken saber in his hands, stabbing it into the glabella of the Shura sect Tao Lord. That fatal slash killed the titular disciple of Shura sect right away. The whole process happened in the blink of an eye. Even before he died, the titular disciple could not understand why the blood refinement fiend emperor, who had already lost his combat strength, would suddenly burst forth and kill him. When Wu Dao's true body saw this, he finally confirmed something. Both the bronze square tripod and the blood mask came from the upper world and descended at the same time 40,000 years ago. The blood refinement fiend emperor looked at the corpse of the titular disciple of Shura sect with a conflicted expression. After a long time, he took a deep breath of air and turned to leave. Wu Dao's true body continued browsing through the memories of the blood refinement fiend emperor. Through those memories, Wu Dao's true body resolved many of his doubts. Although the blood refinement fiend sutra was indeed created by the blood refinement fiend emperor with the secret skill of the blood vine race as the foundation, it was with the help of the living being in the blood mask. The living being in the blood mask gave the blood refinement fiend emperor a lot of help in his cultivation. Later on, the blood refinement fiend emperor was hunted down by the immortal, Buddhist and fiend sects without anyone helping him. If not for the blood mask, the blood refinement fiend emperor would have died long ago. Through the memories of the blood refinement fiend emperor, Wu Dao's true body saw Monk Daming of the past as well. Although the two of them were mortal enemies, however, in the heart of the blood refinement fiend emperor, Monk Daming was his only confidant. That was because Monk Daming was the only one among all the cultivators who was willing to give him a chance. In the final battle between the two of them, the blood refinement fiend emperor seized the opportunity to fake his death under the suggestion of the blood mask to cultivate another fiend technique in secret. That was the clone technique imparted to the blood refinement fiend emperor by the blood mask, the three-corpse primordial art. Su Zimo had heard the night spirit mention this clone technique before as well. It was said to be on par with the three pure ones of the immortal sects and the three bodies of the Buddhist monasteries. However, Wu Dao's true body could not find out the origin of the blood mask even after browsing through the memories of the blood refinement fiend emperor. The living being in the blood mask had never mentioned it before either. Initially, Wu Dao's true body wanted to wipe out the essence spirit of the blood refinement fiend emperor directly. However, he hesitated for a moment and was suddenly curious about the blurry memories of the blood refinement fiend emperor when he was young. Wu Dao's true body returned to unravel the memories. That memory was revealed bit by bit. As the scenes flashed before his eyes, the expression of Wu Dao's true body gradually turned conflicted. B*****. How dare you defy my orders? A young and tender face was ruthlessly stepped on by a blood vine clansman. His face was trampled into the mud and was continuously crushed. Looking down from above, the blood vine being stomped on the young man's face and remarked coldly, "You're AB** and your mother is SL**T. Don't scold my mother." Although the young man was being stomped on with his face buried in the mud and his mouth stuffed with sand, he grit his teeth and retorted with a furious expression. "Foo-foo." The blood vine being sneered, "Your mother gave birth to you because she seduced a wild man outside. You guys are the disgrace of the Bloodvine race. As he scolded, the Bloodvine being stomped the young man's face into the mud viciously. A group of Bloodvine beings stood around and watched the commotion while mocking brazenly. Suddenly, Wu Dao's true body understood why the Blood Refinement Fiend Emperor would kill all the Bloodvine race without a single survivor. When Wu Dao's true body saw those memories, the essence spirit of the Blood Refinement Fiend Emperor suddenly became agitated and wanted to break free from the restraints of Wu Dao's true body. Those were the deepest secrets of the Blood Refinement Fiend Emperor. Given the pride of the Blood Refinement Fiend Emperor, there was no way he would mention such an experience to anyone else. Chapter 1773. Wu Dao's true body continued to browse through the memories of the Blood Refinement Fiend Emperor and witnessed everything. The Blood Refinement Fiend Emperor was bullied in the Bloodvine race, and any random member of the Bloodvine race could punch, kick, and order him around. It was in such an environment that the Blood Refinement Fiend Emperor grew up bit by bit. There was only a single reason why he did not leave. His mother was imprisoned in the Bloodvine race. Later on, the Blood Refinement Fiend Emperor could only watch helplessly as his mother was forced to death by the Bloodvine race while he could do nothing about it. Before the Blood Fiend's mother died, she was worried that her child would continue to be bullied in the race and had him leave the Bloodvine race to search for his father. The Blood Fiend escaped from the Bloodvine race and vanished silently. Nobody in the Bloodvine race cared about his life or death or searched for him. The Blood Fiend arrived in Tianhuang mainland and arrived at Shura sect according to the information left behind by his mother. At that point, Wu Dao's true body felt his heart skip a beat. Suddenly, he recalled the initial scene and thought of a terrifying possibility. The Blood Fiend joined Shura sect and cultivated diligently in the Fiend sections. Finally, he found a chance to meet that person. The titular disciple of Shura sect. The first person that Wu Dao's true body saw the Blood Fiend kill was none other than his father. When father and son met, there was no warm scene. Instead, an intense argument broke out. In that lifetime, the Shura had almost forgotten that he was on good terms with a woman of the Bloodvine race and was indifferent towards the Blood Fiend's existence. "Your mother is merely one of my women," the Shura of that lifetime said indifferently. "I'm merely fooling around with her. We can't be considered as Dao companions at all. We're just putting on a show. Furthermore, it's been so long. Who knows who she was having an affair with in secret to give birth to you?" The Blood Fiend could no longer hold it in and attacked the Shura of that lifetime, resulting in a huge battle. After that, it was the scene that Wu Dao's true body witnessed for the first time. The Blood Fiend Emperor was bullied in his childhood and killed his mother and father. His heart was already extremely twisted. Later on, he was hunted down by countless cultivators, and that was how the Blood Refinement Fiend Emperor who caused multiple catastrophes in the future was born. All of a sudden, the Blood Refining Demon Emperor's nascent spirit was resisting fiercely. These memories were the things he was most unwilling to face and recall. Given the Blood-Refining Demon Emperor's pride, he would never allow anyone else to know these secrets. Kakaka. Inside the light ball, cracks appeared on the dark chains that entangled the Blood-Refining Demon Emperor's soul. They were about to be broken. "No one can kill me, not even you, Araki Takashi." The Blood-Refining Demon Emperor suddenly broke free from the chains. With a hideous and painful expression, he bellowed. Boom! The Blood-Refining Demon Emperor's primordial spirit exploded into pieces and vanished in the palm of Wu Dao's true body. As a matter of fact, Wu Dao's true body only needed to close his palm and activate his consciousness to suppress the Blood-Refining Demon Emperor. In fact, he could even easily obliterate the Blood Refinement Demon Emperor's primordial spirit. However, Wu Dao's main body ignored him. After seeing those memories, he chose to give the Blood-Refining Demon Emperor a chance to commit suicide, leaving him with the last bit of dignity. There was no trace of the Blood-Refining Demon Emperor's death. His corpse turned into blood that splattered onto Tianhuang mainland as well. The Blood Demon had almost never experienced any parental love or familial friendship. In the past, he was only bullied, humiliated, unjust, mocked and hunted, It was precisely because of those experiences that he became the cruel and heartless blood-refining demon emperor later on. Perhaps, the reason why Monk Daming was willing to give the blood-refining demon emperor a chance was because he knew about the latter's past. Su Zimo gazed at the voids in silence with a conflicted expression and lamented internally. Although they were both remnants of the primordial races and abandoned pawns, the blood demon and Monk Daming walked on completely different paths. Moreover, both of them had unparalleled talent and were extremely talented. The blood demon created the blood refinement fiend sutra and secretly instigated multiple catastrophes. In a certain sense, for the past 40,000 years, the primordial races were no exception to the rule of the blood demon. Every single living being on Tianhuang mainland was merely his chess piece. The ambition of the blood demon was truly terrifying. He wanted to assimilate all living beings on Tianhuang mainland into a single race. If not for Dai Yu's appearance, the blood demon would have succeeded more than 1,000 years ago and nobody could stop him. However, Monk Daming was even more admirable. He had endured for a full 40,000 years in that ancient coffin alone. It was unimaginable what sort of torment he had endured for the past 40,000 years. Eventually, Monk Daming chose to turn fiend and break out of the coffin. Thereafter, he found a way to break the blood refinement fiend sutra among the many Buddhist dharmas, cultivation techniques, and secret skills and broke free from the shackles of the blood demon. Actually, the fight between the two of them lasted for a full 40,000 years and had just ended. Now that the blood-refining demon emperor was dead, the remaining emperors were nothing to worry about. Against the attack of Wu Dao's true body, all of them died before long. The old storyteller arrived beside Su Zimo and stood beside him. Looking at the broken battlefield, he sighed gently. It's finally over. Wu Huang, I've once said that the ancient era belonged to the human emperor. And this era belongs to you. No, Su Zimo shook his head. But the old storyteller said, you created Wu Dao and imparted martial arts to all living beings. You uncovered the truth of the primordial era and suppressed the emperors of the primordial races so that all races respected you. Now that you've quelled the blood demon catastrophe 40,000 years ago, your achievements should naturally be recorded in the annals of history for all generations to admire. Su Zimo shook his head gently. This isn't my era alone. In this era, there's the Night Spirit, Lin Xuanji, the dragons, the emperors of the human race and senior. It's because of you guys that such a magnificent era was created, the old storyteller smiled. No matter what, your achievements in this era are unparalleled. Su Zimo sighed. No matter how great my achievements are, they can't obscure Monk Daming's brilliance. The old storyteller was silent. If future generations mentioned this era, the first thing they would talk about would be Wu Huang, Monk Daming, and the blood demon. In the ancient era, the human emperor reigned supreme. However, in this era, Wu Huang, Monk Daming, and the blood demon left behind indelible marks and shone with their own brilliance. Does reincarnation truly exist in this world? Suddenly, Su Zimo asked. The old storyteller replied, reincarnation only exists in legends. Perhaps that power can only be found in the upper world. Su Zimo murmured, if reincarnation exists, I hope that Monk Daming can be reborn in his next life and obtain an even better reward. The death of Monk Daming and the blood refinement fiend emperor also meant the end of an era. Su Zimo would not stay on Tianhuang mainland for too long and would ascend to the immortal realm. From now on, Tianhuang mainland would welcome a brand new era where the Wu Dao prospered and all races coexisted. End of chapter. Chapter 1774. With the end of the Blood Fiend War, Tianhuang mainland finally welcomed a long period of peace. The 10,000 races rested and recovered their vitality in a peaceful manner. For the past 40,000 years, Tianhuang mainland had been baptized by many calamities. Coupled with the endless killing in the cultivation world, countless sects had their legacies severed. Some super sects of the immortal, Buddhist, and fiend sects alone were destroyed. As for those sects, they left behind some sparks and started to re-establish their sects in Tianhuang mainland to recruit disciples. Su Zimo pondered for a long time and did not choose to leave Wu Dao's subsequent cultivation dermic formulations in Tianhuang mainland. It was not that he could not bear to. However, even he did not know if that Dao would work or what the future would be like. It was enough for him to pass down Wu Dao's 9 transformations. For mortals without spirit roots, as long as they could cultivate Wu Dao's 9 transformations to the 7th transformation, they would be able to cultivate any Dao techniques of the immortal, Buddhist and fiend sects with a promising future. However, there was only darkness ahead of Wu Dao. Only Wu Dao's true body had the determination and will to walk the great Dao alone. Of course, as Su Zimo's eldest disciple, Kitsune still called Su Zimo to his side and asked her for her choice. Without any hesitation, Bai Mingshui chose to embark on the path of martial arts with an unknown future. Su Zimo did not hide anything and imparted the essence of Wu Dao, including the newest Fate Wheel's secret realm, to Kitsune. In the following period of time, Su Zimo was in no hurry to leave. Instead, he met with many old friends and bade them farewell one by one. The capital of Great Zhou. A woman in a pale yellow dress stood before the stone steps of the palace with a handsome green-robed scholar beside her. The two of them chatted casually, exchanging glances and smiling at times. After more than 1,000 years, the appearance of the woman and the scholar did not change much. The woman looked at the scholar with the same gentle gaze as before. However, both of their statuses had undergone an earth-shattering change. The woman was now the empress of the Great Zhou Empire, the most respected person in the northern region. Although her cultivation was only at the void reversion realm, her status was comparable to the patriarch of the North region and even the super sects of Tianhuang mainland. The scholar was no longer the little cultivator who had been hunted down all over the world. Instead, he was the ancient Wu Huang who was respected by all races and whose name had spread throughout the world. Of course, no matter how noble the Son of Heaven was, he could not be compared to the emperor, let alone Wangu Wu Huang. If others were to see Wangu Wu Huang standing side by side with the emperor of Great Zhou in the Great Zhou Imperial Palace, they would be shocked beyond words. Although the identity of the woman and the scholar had changed greatly, there was no barrier between the two of them when they were together. "Are you leaving?" Ji Yaoshue turned to look at the side of the scholar's face. Then she smiled and asked in a soft voice. "Yes." Su Zimo nodded. Ji Yaoshue smiled. "Head to the upper world. There's still someone waiting for you there." Su Zimo's heart skipped a beat as he turned to look at Ji Yaoshue with a complicated expression in his eyes. "Actually, I've thought about it before. What kind of person would that person be that you can't forget and yearn for so much?" Ji Yaoshue had a relaxed expression as she teased. "It was only when she appeared that I realized that even I'm fond of a peerless beauty who looks down on the world." Initially, Su Zimo's heart was heavy. However, when he saw Ji Yaoshue's smile, the sorrow of parting in his heart seemed to fade a little. Ji Yaoshue reached out and patted Su Zimo on the shoulder gently. "Alright, don't be like this. It's not like we're parting forever. When you reach the upper world, you have to cultivate well. If you have the chance, come back and visit me and your other old friends." Su Zimo was silent. If he really reached the upper world, it would be almost impossible for him to descend again. The human emperor had ascended for countless years. Even with his cultivation, he almost died when he forced himself to descend to the lower world. If Su Zimo wanted to surpass the human emperor, he did not know how long it would take. The lifespan of a void reversion was only 5,000 years. At that time, even if he possessed the strength of a lower world, things would probably remain the same, but people would change. Furthermore, everything in the upper world was unknown and he did not know what dangers there would be. Su Zimo knew in his heart that there was a high chance that this farewell between the two of them would be eternal. "Yaoshu." Su Zimo lowered his head and opened his mouth softly, as if he wanted to say something. Ji Yaoshue pursed her lips and looked at Su Zimo quietly. A hint of anticipation flashed through the depths of her eyes. Su Zimo was silent for a long time before he sighed internally. "I'm leaving. Take care." "You too," Ji Yaoshue said softly. Su Zimo took a deep breath of air and turned to leave without hesitation. Before long, he disappeared from the skies above the great Zhou imperial palace. Ji Yaoshue stood on the spot and merely looked in the direction where Su Zimo left. She could no longer suppress the sadness and reluctance in her heart, and her vision gradually blurred. Someone is waiting for him in the upper world. Isn't it the same in the lower world? Right then, a voice sounded from behind Ji Yaoshue. Ji Yaoshue looked flustered as she wiped away the tears at the corners of her eyes hurriedly, as if she was afraid that someone would see through her as she turned back. Not far away, a young girl in a pink dress stood tall. After all these years, Demoness Ji did not seem to have grown up and still looked like a young girl. However, she exuded an irresistible charm from head to toe. Yen, what are you talking about? Ji Yaoshue asked. Demoness Ji replied, Sister, I know you the best. Even though you don't seem to mind, you can't bear to part with him. Ji Yaoshue remained silent. After a long time, she said softly, So what if I can't bear to part with him? He's going to ascend to the upper world and I'm afraid I won't be able to see him again in the future. Yen, when are you going to ascend for your tribulation? Ji Yaoshue changed the topic and asked suddenly. I'm not an emperor yet. It's still early. Demoness Ji smiled and walked to Ji Yaoshue's side. Holding the latter's arm, she smiled. I can accompany you for many more years, unlike that heartless person. Oh, you. Ji Yaoshue smiled and reached out to tap Demoness Ji's forehead gently. Sister, you don't have to be sad. Demoness Ji continued, I'll bring you to watch his tribulation in a few days' time. At that time, he'll definitely be struck terribly by the heavenly tribulation and his soul might even dissipate. I'll take it as venting for you. Ji Yaoshue was shocked and asked hurriedly, Is the tribulation that dangerous? At the mention of that, Demoness Ji turned serious and retracted her smile. Indeed, the tribulation is extremely dangerous and there's a high chance of death. In the ancient books of the fiend sects, there are many records of failed tribulations. Actually, for the past few years, many people in Tianhuang mainland could have chosen to transcend the tribulation. However, no one dared to take the risk. This time round, all the living beings of the 10,000 races know that Wu Huang will definitely choose to transcend the tribulation and ascend. Therefore, many experts are waiting to watch Wu Huang's tribulation so that they can gain some experience. Book reading website. Chapter 1775. Cultivation was a heaven-defying act and every step was difficult. Prior to this, although there was immense danger in breaking through each major cultivation realm, it was difficult to call it a tribulation. The divine power tribulation would only descend when one entered the Mahayana realm. However, compared to the heavenly tribulation, the divine power tribulation paled in comparison. The heavenly tribulation was the most difficult hurdle in a minor kiliacosm. If one could survive it, they would be able to ascend to the upper world and transcend the tribulation to become an immortal. If they could not, there was only a single outcome: their souls would dissipate. If one wanted to cultivate in a heaven-defying manner, they would have to endure the baptism of the heavenly tribulation. In Tianhuang mainland, as long as a cultivator cultivated to the perfected Mahayana realm, they could choose to transcend the tribulation even if they did not comprehend a peerless divine power to become an emperor. In the ancient era, the ancestral master of Enigma Palace, Fairy Ling Long, transcended the tribulation and ascended without comprehending a peerless divine power. When a cultivator cultivated to the perfected Mahayana realm, all they had to do was release their spirit consciousness to strike the barrier of the minor kiliacosm and they would attract the heavenly tribulation. Since the primordial era, there were very few cultivators who dared to trigger the heavenly tribulation at the perfected Mahayana realm. That was because the heavenly tribulation was way too dangerous. Many emperors could not survive the heavenly tribulation. Su Zimo had once witnessed Fairy Ling Long's tribulation in Enigma Palace and she experienced immense danger as well. If not for Fairy Ling Long's incredible foresight, unparalleled deduction and extremely high attainments in array formations, she would not have been able to make it through. Most importantly, one could only rely on their own strength to transcend the tribulation. If others were to help, they would implicate that person and cause many variables to occur during the tribulation. Those were all precious experiences left behind by people who transcended tribulations in the ancient era. However, no matter how precious those experiences were, they could not compare to the fact that many experts could witness a person's tribulation personally. It could be said that Wu Huang's tribulation was the center of attention. Many experts in Tianhuang mainland knew that Wu Huang would definitely transcend the tribulation. However, no one knew how Wu Huang would choose to transcend the tribulation since he had 3 true bodies. If I were Wu Huang, I would choose to transcend the tribulation with one of my true bodies as a test first. I'll be able to see what happens with the other 2 true bodies. That's right. Even if he fails to transcend the tribulation, he still has 2 true bodies. Perhaps these 2 true bodies will be able to come up with a way to resolve this. During this period of time, the experts of the myriad races had been discussing Wu Huang's tribulation, and they all had different opinions. This day, a voice suddenly sounded and spread to every corner of Tianhuang mainland. I'm Araki Takashi, and I'll be undergoing my tribulation in the East Sea in 10 days. Everyone, please come and watch. Planet Tianhuang was shaken. In an instant, countless figures soared into the sky from all over the heavenly Emperor continent, speeding towards the East Sea. Some of the figures had lower cultivation realms. They were only at the Dharma characteristic realm or the conjoint body realm. They were not like the Mahayana patriarch who could casually tear through the void and descend on the East Ocean. Therefore, these cultivators immediately set off for the Eastern Sea. Although the Dharma characteristic and conjoint body realms were still extremely far away from the tribulation transcendence realm, no one wanted to miss this opportunity. Which true body do you think Wu Huang will use to transcend the tribulation first? I'm guessing the Dragon Phoenix true body. After all, the Dragon Phoenix is a taboo. There's a higher chance of him transcending the tribulation, and he might be able to deal with some unforeseen circumstances. I'm guessing it's Qinglian true body. After all, it's an utmost treasure of the universe. For the past 10 days, a large number of cultivators gathered near the East Sea. Apart from some cultivators, there were also experts of the myriad races who gathered and discussed fervently. Among them, there were many familiar faces. Monkey, Linghu, Qing Qing, Night Spirit, Little Fox, and the Golden Lion were naturally among them. Nianqi rushed over from the mainland of God as well and stood beside Momo. In front of these old friends, Nianqi did not put on any airs like Shenhuang. Kitsune and Kunpeng had arrived as well. Princess Yufei, Shura, and Extreme Fire were in the crowd as well. Lin Xuanji, Mingjin, Little Fatty, Shijian, and the others stood together. The emperors of the human race and the various races tore through the void and descended on the East Sea as well. In the blink of an eye, 10 days were up. All of a sudden, 3 cracks appeared in the sky above the East Sea and 3 figures with powerful auras walked out. Su Zimo's 3 true bodies descended at the same time. The 3 true bodies were far away from each other. They stood separately with calm expressions and looked up at the firmaments at the same time. Everyone's gazes were focused on Su Zimo's 3 true bodies nervously. Suddenly, Lin Xuanji frowned and asked softly, "Old man, did Brother Su say which true body he's going to transcend the tribulation with first?" He didn't say. The storyteller old man had a grim expression as well. By the looks of it, there's a high chance that Wu Huang is going to transcend the tribulation with 2 true bodies at the same time. All of a sudden, Su Zimo's 3 true bodies burst forth with terrifying spirit consciousnesses at the same time and soared into the skies. They tore through the clouds and struck the barrier of the heaven wasteland aristocratic family. Pissed, the crowd was shocked and in an uproar. How dare Wu Huang? Wu Huang is too conceited. What if, how bold of Wu Huang to transcend the tribulation with 3 true bodies at the same time? Instantly, a wave of commotion broke out in the crowd and everyone was shocked. Even the storyteller old man's heart skipped a beat as he thought to himself, "This is a little reckless." Amidst the discussions of the crowd, the sky above the East Sea was filled with dark clouds that were pitch black like ink in the blink of an eye. 3 gigantic and thick clouds hovered above the heads of the 3 true bodies. Rumble. Boom. Above the East Sea, violent winds howled and lightning flashed within the black clouds. The three black clouds blotted out the skies and emitted a vast divine might, causing all the living beings of the myriad races to tremble in fear. The experts of the myriad races had long dodged far away. They stood on the mainland and looked at the East Sea, not daring to approach for fear of being affected by the heavenly tribulation. Everyone could see clearly that among the three black clouds, the cloud above Wu Dao's true body was clearly larger. As for the clouds above the dragon phoenix true body and Qinglian's true body, there was not much difference. The three black clouds rotated slowly and gradually turned into a gigantic vortex. Faint red lightning arcs began to flash in the clouds and condense towards the center of the vortex, accumulating terrifying power. The crowd was shocked when they saw the red lightning. It's actually red lightning. Do you think that the heavenly tribulation is an ordinary lightning tribulation? The destructive power of the heavenly tribulation has long undergone a qualitative change. Ordinary lightning was colorless or white. However, the current heavenly tribulation was red. The heavenly tribulation was about to descend. In the center of the black cloud vortex, a blazing red light shone and refracted for thousands of kilometers, illuminating the mountains and rivers. The entire world seemed to be covered in a blood-red color. Almost at the same time, a red heavenly lightning descended from the center of the three black clouds and struck toward Su Zimo's three true bodies. The dragon phoenix true body and Qinglian's true body stood with their heads held high. Their gazes were like torches as they looked at the descending heavenly tribulation without using any means to defend against it. What is Wu Huang doing? Why isn't he releasing his dermic treasures or divine powers to defend against the heavenly tribulation? Could it be that Wu Huang wants to resist the power of the heavenly tribulation with his body? The crowd was shocked. In the blink of an eye, two red heavenly tribulations descended on the dragon phoenix true body and Qinglian's true body. The two true bodies were different and red heavenly lightning coiled around them, crackling. The two true bodies took the heavenly tribulation head-on and were safe and sound. On the other side, Wu Dao's true body looked at the descending heavenly tribulation and was even more domineering. He reached out and grabbed the heavenly tribulation, squeezing it forcefully. Boom! The heavenly tribulation exploded in the palm of Wu Dao's true body. 2K Reading Network. Chapter 1776. Su Zimo's three true bodies transcended the tribulations at the same time. Against the impact of the heavenly tribulation, the dragon phoenix true body and Qinglian true body chose to withstand the first bolt of heavenly tribulation with their bodies to sense the power within. As for Wu Dao's true body, he was even stronger and took the initiative to crush the heavenly tribulation. Only by truly transcending the tribulation could one understand the mysteries within. Apart from the powerful power of thunder, there was also a mysterious power within the heavenly tribulation. It was that power that caused the thunder in the black clouds to transform into a terrifying heavenly tribulation. At that moment, the dragon phoenix true body and Qinglian true body had withstood the baptism of the first bolt of heavenly tribulation and their bodies flickered with electric arcs. The power of thunder in the heavenly tribulation gradually dissipated and the remaining mysterious power seeped into the bodies of the two true bodies through their skin. That mysterious power was also changing the two true bodies. It's heaven-earth essence qi. A thought flashed through Su Zimo's mind. A few years ago, when Daiyu descended, she mentioned some things about the upper world to him. Among them, there was the mystery of heaven-earth essence qi. After integrating with heaven-earth essence qi, small divine powers could transform and evolve into an even more terrifying power that could defeat Su Zimo's peerless divine powers. The reason why the thunder transformed into a heavenly tribulation now was definitely because it had integrated with heaven-earth essence qi as well. At the same time, Su Zimo had an epiphany. Although the heavenly tribulation was dangerous, it was a threshold that cultivators of the lower world had to cross. In the lesser Kiliacosm, one could only come into contact with heaven-earth essence qi after the heavenly tribulation to cleanse one's flesh and essence spirit and transform once more. Choking, Chi novel. That way, cultivators of the lower world would be able to adapt to the environment of the upper world upon entering. Only cultivators who had undergone the heavenly tribulation could absorb heaven-earth essence chi in the upper world to cultivate. Wu Dao's true body crushed the heavenly tribulation and the thunder dissipated in his palm. However, the heaven-earth essence chi contained within surged into the body of Wu Dao's true body and cleansed his flesh and blood. Wu Dao's main body closed his eyes and felt the subtle changes in his body. Just now, that red heavenly tribulation is descending. Even though I'm so far away from it, I can still feel my heart palpitating. A ruler sighed softly. Who would have thought that such a terrifying heavenly tribulation would be nothing to Wu Huang? How could it be so simple? There are 9 lightning bolts, each more ferocious than the last. This is just the beginning. In fact, if there was only one thunderbolt, many rulers since ancient times would have been able to withstand it with all their trump cards, methods, and magic weapons. Nonetheless, most of the rulers who failed to transcend the heavenly tribulation fell in the later few heavenly tribulations. Most of the rulers lasted until the end and exhausted their trump cards. Naturally, they could not withstand the impact of the heavenly disaster and were struck until their souls were scattered. Many rulers were unwilling to transcend the tribulation because they wanted to comprehend as many peerless divine abilities as possible. This was because one more peerless divine ability meant that they could resist one more lightning tribulation. Above the East Sea, the dark clouds were lower and thicker. Blazing red lightning flashed and interweaved in the dark clouds, converging towards the center of the vortex. Sniff. A dark red heavenly tribulation descended from the skies and smashed towards Su Zimo's 3 true bodies. The color of the heavenly tribulation was much darker than just now, and the power it emitted was even more terrifying. The Dragon Phoenix true body and Qinglian true body still did not move and continued to receive the baptism of the heavenly tribulation with their physical bodies. Not only was there heaven and earth essence chi in the heavenly tribulation, there was also a powerful power of thunder. This baptism made the flesh of the 2 true bodies even stronger. To begin with, lightning contained life force and the essence of heaven and earth. For Su Zimo, all of that was extremely nourishing. Of course, no one else could imitate this method of tribulation transcendence. Wu Dao's main body was still domineering. Against the descending heavenly tribulation, he punched in reverse and shattered the dark red heavenly tribulation. Under countless gazes, the heavenly tribulation descended again and again. The color darkened, dark red, blood red, scarlet. The power of the heavenly tribulation became increasingly terrifying as well. Even the many emperors watching from afar felt their hearts skip a beat. The 2 true bodies were still motionless and endured the baptism of the heavenly tribulation. Not only were they not injured, the auras in their bodies became stronger instead. Wu Dao's main body's method of tribulation transcendence was even more violent and direct. Initially, he still stood in midair and raised his hand to resist the heavenly tribulation. However, during the final 7th, 8th, and 9th tribulations, Wu Dao's main body rose against the momentum and charged towards the heavenly tribulation. Bang, bang, bang. The 9th heavenly tribulation had just descended when Wu Dao's main body had already arrived beneath the black clouds. Raising his hand, he punched towards the lightning vortex in the center of the black clouds and shouted, "Break!" Boom! This stretch of lightning cloud layer was actually blasted apart by the martial Dao true body's punch, scattering everywhere. Wu Dao's main body stood beneath the firmaments like a god, unparalleled in the world. In less than an hour, all 9 heavenly tribulations were transcended. Su Zimo's 3 true bodies were safe and sound. To think that Wu Huang would be able to transcend the most dangerous 8th and 9th tribulations so easily. This method of tribulation transcendence is truly unprecedented. The living beings of the myriad races lamented. After the tribulation, Su Zimo's 3 true bodies did not leave and no phenomenon descended from the firmaments either. According to the ancient records, after a successful tribulation, a milky white beam of light would descend and envelop the cultivator, guiding them to the upper realm. However, after the 9 heavenly tribulations ended, The might emitted from the firmaments became even more terrifying instead, as though a catastrophe was about to descend. What's going on? Didn't Wu Huang succeed in transcending the tribulation? The living beings of the myriad races became restless. Could it be? Lin Xuanji's heart skipped a beat as he turned to look at the old storyteller with a questioning expression. The old storyteller nodded with a grim expression. In that case, the legend of the heavenly tribulations is true. What legend? The various sovereigns were curious as they asked. Regarding the heavenly tribulations, not only did the other major sects, even Enigma Palace did not have any accurate records and only had some legends. The old storyteller said, legend has it that there are 9 heavenly tribulations. We all know that. 9 heavenly tribulations, right? An emperor continued. The old storyteller shook his head. The 9 does not refer to the 9 heavenly tribulations, but the 9 heavenly tribulations. What? The emperors were shocked. Long Ran asked, "You're saying that we have to experience 9 such heavenly tribulations?" The old storyteller nodded before shaking his head. Normally, as far as we know, the 9 heavenly tribulations we saw earlier on can only be considered as the first heavenly tribulation, also known as the 19 heavenly tribulations. However, if any monster incarnate is born in the world and attracts the jealousy of the heavens, there's a chance that it will attract the second heavenly tribulation. The second heavenly tribulation still has 9 heavenly tribulations. That's the 29 heavenly tribulations. The human emperor of all ages once attracted the 39 heavenly tribulations. Not many people in Enigma Palace knew about this, let alone others. The old storyteller paused for a moment before saying slowly, legend has it that the limit of the lower realm is the 49 heavenly tribulations. To date, it has never appeared in Tianhuang mainland. End of chapter. Chapter 1777. Although the 9 thunder tribulations ended, the dark clouds in the firmaments did not disperse completely. They continued to hover above the heads of Su Zimo's 3 true bodies. They were dark and heavy. No one knew what terrifying power was being nurtured within them. Before long, the dark clouds surged and changed. In the blink of an eye, 3 thick clouds formed above the heads of Su Zimo's 3 true bodies once more. The clouds were even scarier than just now, as though ink could drip from them. Lightning flashed and thunder rumbled in the clouds with a devouring, killing intent that seemed like it could devour and tear everything apart. The black clouds spun once more and the endless power of thunder in the clouds began to condense towards the center of the vortex, causing the lightning to blaze even more intensely. This time round, it was no longer a scarlet thunder tribulation, but an orange-yellow one. Streaks of lightning shone in midair and burst forth with a resplendent golden light that was bedazzling. This was a thunder tribulation that had completely exceeded the expectations of many experts. There was even an orange-yellow power of thunder in this world. In the center of the black cloud vortex, it was as though a golden sun was being nurtured with countless bolts of lightning. The 29 heavenly tribulations had arrived. All of a sudden, a blazing golden thunder tribulation burst forth from the center of the 3 black cloud vortexes and countless lightning arcs intertwined. The thunder tribulation was like a towering ancient tree that descended from the heavens and smashed toward Su Zimo's 3 true bodies. The Dragon Phoenix true body and Qinglian true body still did not release any divine powers or secret skills. Neither did they summon any dermic treasures and were prepared to take on the 29 heavenly tribulations with their bodies. Wu Dao's true body had a calm expression. Just like just now, he took the initiative to attack the thunder tribulation. Boom! The golden thunder tribulation struck the 2 true bodies with a deafening sound. An enormous and terrifying force slammed into the 2 true bodies, sending them flying and almost falling from the sky. A commotion broke out in the crowd. Su Zimo's 2 true bodies were unharmed against the final heavenly tribulation of the 19 heavenly tribulations and did not move at all. Who would have thought that the first tribulation of the 29 heavenly tribulations would send Su Zimo's 2 true bodies flying? On the other side, Wu Dao's main body was still as domineering as before. Without using any tricks, he directly smashed apart the golden lightning tribulation with a single punch. The heaven and earth yuan qi contained in the thunder tribulation gradually merged into Wu Dao's body. Wu Dao's original body's heart stirred. He used Wu Dao's great furnace to smelt it. As he felt the power of the thunder tribulation, his eyes gradually lit up as if he had comprehended something. Cough cough. Su Zimo's two true bodies slowly stood up and gasped. Although the Dragon Phoenix true body was a taboo, and Qinglian's true body was a treasure of heaven and earth, there was still a huge gap between them and Wu Dao's true body. The powerful power of thunder and lightning intertwined within the bodies of the two true bodies, bringing with it a destructive aura. Under the first lightning tribulation, the two true bodies suffered some damage. However, the recovery capabilities of the two true bodies were strong. With their blood qi surging, such injuries were healed in the blink of an eye. There was no fear in Su Zimo's eyes. Instead, there was a hint of excitement. The power of the second heavenly tribulation was clearly much stronger than the first. This also meant that the heaven and earth yuan qi produced in the second heavenly tribulation was more, purer and richer. Dangers were accompanied by opportunities. The more benefits Su Zimo could obtain in this tribulation, the faster he could adapt to the upper world and gain a foothold after ascending. Boom! The second lightning tribulation descended and did not give the two true bodies a chance to catch their breaths. But two vibrations sounded from the bodies of the two true bodies as their blood qi rumbled and the sound of tsunamis surged. Su Zimo did not dare to be careless and channeled his blood qi to take the thunder tribulation head-on. Bang! 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 The thunder tribulation descended continuously and struck Su Zimo's three true bodies wildly, as though it would not stop until it destroyed them. The power of the second heavenly tribulation became even more terrifying towards the end. Initially, the thunder tribulation that descended was only as thick as an ancient tree. In the end, the thunder tribulation that descended was like a divine pillar that could be hugged by more than 10 people. It shone with a golden light and surged with lightning, drowning Su Zimo's two true bodies completely. Wu Dao's true body was still domineering. With his powerful physique, he rose against the momentum and shattered the thunderclouds above his head once more. Based on this trend, there's almost no suspense for Su Zimo's third true body to ascend. The old storyteller nodded slightly. The other experts nodded as well. Up till now, it was unknown if the Dragon Phoenix true body and Qinglian's true body could successfully transcend the tribulation. A long time later, the lightning gradually dissipated, revealing the figures of the Dragon Phoenix true body and Qinglian's true body. The two true bodies were in a wretched state after being struck by the 29 heavenly tribulations. Their clothes were tattered and they coughed continuously with green smoke rising from their 7 orifices. However, the vitality of the two true bodies was still exuberant and their eyes were still bright. Under the baptism of the 29 heavenly tribulations, the two true bodies seemed to have undergone a transformation. Their flesh was flawless, their bones were tough and their organs shone with a crystalline glow. Their auras became even more unfathomable. Right now, the two true bodies were equivalent to being baptized by the heaven and earth essence qi of the upper realm and naturally underwent a rebirth. Rumble! Boom! Before the two true bodies could rest, a dull and powerful sound of thunder sounded from the firmaments once more. The 39 heavenly tribulations are here, the old storyteller murmured with a grim expression. Back then, the eternal human emperor ascended after experiencing the 39 heavenly tribulations. Good timing! Su Zimo burst out laughing in a maniacal manner. Many experts looked at Su Zimo as though they were looking at a monster. Actually, they did not know that the heaven and earth essence qi was nurtured in the heavenly tribulations. The 39 heavenly tribulations were clearly stronger than the 29 heavenly tribulations. Although it was more dangerous, it also meant that the heaven and earth essence qi in the 39 heavenly tribulations was purer and richer. If he could survive it, the improvement of Su Zimo would be even more obvious. Above the firmaments, 3 thunderclouds condensed rapidly. This time round, the color of the heavenly tribulations in the black clouds changed once more, turning from gold to green. Green heavenly tribulations. The black clouds spun and gathered as countless green thunderbolts condensed in the center, as though they were condensing into a river that surged and was bedazzling. Boom! The heavenly tribulations descended from the 3 thunderclouds. This time round, there were no light beams or thunderbolts. All the thunderbolts formed a gigantic waterfall that poured down like the Milky Way and surged toward Su Zimo's 3 true bodies. Pissed! The sovereigns gasped in astonishment and gasped in shock. The 39 heavenly tribulations were so turbulent that they were even more majestic than the previous 2 heavenly tribulations combined. How could such power be defended against by humans? 3 heads, 6 arms. Qinglian's true body released a peerless divine power and roared into the skies. Each of her 6 palms held a Dharma treasure and charged towards the lightning waterfall. Roar! The dragon phoenix true body let out a roar as well, and flames burned on its body. The flames of the dragon phoenix emitted a scorching temperature, as though they wanted to incinerate everything. Against the current. This time round, the 2 true bodies no longer held back and released all their methods. The expression of Wu Dao's true body turned grim, as well as he channeled his blood qi slowly. The lightning waterfall was way too terrifying. If he was careless, he would be washed away without a corpse. Even his body could not withstand it. Book Guest Residence Reading Website. Chapter 1778. The lightning waterfall descended in a bedazzling manner with electric arcs flashing and thunder rumbling. The dragon phoenix true body and Qinglian true body released divine powers one after another and summoned countless Dharma treasures and secret skills to fight against it. Bang, bang, bang. Each time they collided, there would be a violent tremor. The lightning waterfall shattered and the remaining pure heaven-earth essence qi surged into the bodies of the dragon phoenix true body and Qinglian true body, fusing into every inch of their flesh. The 2 true bodies were transforming rapidly and their auras were rising continuously. As for the lightning waterfall of the 39 heavenly tribulations, it became increasingly ferocious and violent. After being shattered once, it could condense again in the blink of an eye and descend from the skies once more, like a galaxy descending from the 9 heavens. It was extremely spectacular. Against the 39 heavenly tribulations, the dragon phoenix true body and Qinglian true body were almost forced to their limits. On the other side, Wu Dao's true body was forced to circulate his blood qi to fight against the 39 heavenly tribulations. The only one who could still stand against the 39 heavenly tribulations was Wu Dao's true body. The dragon phoenix true body and Qinglian true body were knocked down by the lightning waterfall several times and were covered in wounds and dripping with blood. At the last lightning tribulation, the green lotus true body with 3 heads and 6 arms had 2 of its heads and 4 of its arms shattered by the lightning waterfall. Right in front of everyone, the 2 true bodies fell time and time again. They stood up again and again, bathed in lightning with torrential auras. Finally, the 39 heavenly tribulations dissipated. The dragon phoenix true body and Qinglian true body were almost at their limits as well. Panting heavily, they circulated their blood qi and consumed a large number of elixirs to recover their injuries. The 39 heavenly tribulations were still unable to pose a threat to Wu Dao's true body. After receiving the 39 heavenly tribulations, the clothes of Wu Dao's true body were not damaged at all. Wu Dao's true body closed his eyes slightly, as though he was sensing something. The storyteller looked up at the firmaments with a grim expression. Although the 39 heavenly tribulations were over, the thunderclouds in the skies did not dissipate and were still circling above the heads of Su Zimo's 3 true bodies. Could it be that Wu Huang is going to attract the 49 heavenly tribulations? The old storyteller frowned and was worried. One had to know that the eternal human emperor had only attracted the 3 and 9 heavenly tribulation and ascended to the upper realm. The 3rd heavenly tribulation was already so terrifying, so how powerful would the 4th heavenly tribulation be? Su Zimo's dragon phoenix true body and Qinglian's true body had already reached their limits after withstanding the 39 heavenly tribulations. They had already unleashed all their unique divine abilities. Now, if the 4 and 9 heavenly tribulation descended, it would definitely be a devastating blow to the 2 true bodies. Rumble. Right when the storyteller was feeling worried, the thunderclouds in the sky condensed once more. The color of the tribulation lightning changed again. The green lightning tribulation turned into blue lightning tribulation. But this time, the thunderclouds above the heads of the 3 true bodies were no longer a waterfall, but a vast sea of thunder. The thunder was like a tide, shattering the void and emitting an endless pressure. Su Zimo looked up. At this moment, his spiritual sense was constantly warning him. He sensed a destructive aura from the blazing sea of lightning above his head. The 9 heavenly tribulation had descended. How are we going to resist it? The 4 in 9 heavenly tribulation means that we have to withstand the impact of 36 bolts of lightning. Who can survive it? How is this a heavenly tribulation? It's simply trying to destroy Wu Huang. Many emperors wanted to watch Wu Huang's tribulation transcendence to gain some experience. But now, when they saw that, the emperors who were initially hesitant became even more fearful. Even though they were watching from afar, they felt despair. Su Zimo took a deep breath of air and looked at the sea of lightning above his head with a burning gaze. There was no fear in his eyes. Retreat. Cultivation was a heaven-defying act to begin with. If one did not have the courage to press forward, how could they reach the peak? Even the 4 in 9 heavenly tribulation was not much of a threat to Wu Dao's true body. For Su Zimo, the most important thing right now was how his Dragon Phoenix true body and Qinglian's true body were going to survive the 4 in 9 heavenly tribulation. Boom! The sound of thunder suddenly sounded deafening. Even the experts watching from afar felt their hearts skip a beat. The sound of thunder contained the most righteous and vast power that could crush all evil. The moment the thunder sounded, Su Zimo had a new understanding of the sound domain's secret skill, Thunderclap Kill, in his heart. However, he was currently transcending the tribulation and did not have time to think. Above the firmaments, the blue ocean poured down and drowned the 3 true bodies instantly. What was nurtured in the blue ocean was not seawater, but a dazzling lightning tribulation that seemed like it wanted to destroy all life. The lightning was blinding and filled the world. Many experts could no longer see Su Zimo's 3 true bodies. The 3 true bodies were engulfed by the thunder tide. Is this the end? Even Wu Huang's 3 true bodies couldn't survive the 4 in 9 heavenly tribulation. The living beings of the myriad races were shocked as they watched everything in a daze. All of a sudden, amidst the azure lightning tide, a purple halo burst forth. A figure appeared in the purple halo. It was Wu Dao's true body. The emperors were sharp and could tell clearly that there were actually 4 purple divine wheels behind Wu Dao's true body that emitted a powerful aura. Under the baptism of the heavenly tribulation, Wu Dao's true body broke through to the 4th level Fate Wheel realm and cultivated his 4th Fate Wheel. The thunder tide surged. Despite the protection of Wu Dao's true body and 4 Fate Wheels, he stood tall like a god of thunder. All of a sudden, from another thunder tide, a deep roar that was filled with authority sounded. In the blue tide of lightning, a massive figure gradually appeared. It was scarlet in color and had scales that were tightly connected to each other. It was burning with flames and had a pair of wings on its back. It had the head of a dragon, the tail of a phoenix, and sharp claws and fangs. The Dragon Phoenix true body had already transformed into its true form to fight against the 4 in 9 heavenly tribulation. Swoosh! The thunder tide surged. A streak of green tore through the tide and soared into the skies. The Qinglian true body could not defend against it and released its bloodline phenomenon. In the thunder tide, a creation Qinglian appeared that was bathed in thunder and shone brightly. Boom! The second thunder tide of the 4 in 9 heavenly tribulation descended and was even more ferocious. The massive body of the Dragon Phoenix true body was almost drowned in the thunder tide as it let out a painful roar. Blood chi surged within its body and lifelike demon kings appeared one after another around it. The Dragon Phoenix true body was forced to release its bloodline phenomenon as well. That was its final trump card. The mystic classic of the 12 demon kings of the great wilderness was cultivated to perfection, and all 12 demon kings appeared. Of course, without Daiyu's backup plan, the 12 demon kings would not transform and recondense into Daiyu's form. Even so, the 12 demon kings were not to be underestimated as they surrounded the dragon phoenix true body and defended against the impact of the thunder tide. The Qinglian creation shook violently against the impact of the second thunder tide, and its lotus platform drooped. It was almost drowned in the thunder tide. Boom! Before the second thunder tide stopped, the third one had already arrived. It was even more terrifying and earth-shattering. Chapter 1779. The thunderbolt was shocking and surged like a tidal wave, howling as it wanted to devour everything and crush all life. Cracks appeared on the 12 demon king phenomenons of the dragon phoenix true body and were on the verge of collapse when the third thunder tide descended. The situation on the other side of Qinglian's true body was even more dangerous. The creation Qinglian phenomenon could no longer defend against it as well. Against the scouring of the thunder tide, the leaves withered and lotus petals fell one after another. They turned into nothingness amidst the surge of the thunder tide. Boom! The fourth thunder tide arrived. The 12 demon kings around the dragon phoenix true body dissipated instantly against the impact of the fourth thunder tide and were drowned in the sea of blue thunder. On the other side, the creation Qinglian phenomenon collapsed as well. Su Zimo's figure reappeared and faced the scouring of the thunder tide directly. The 19th heavenly tribulation was neither painful nor itchy for the two true bodies, and they could withstand it with their physical bodies. But now, this was the fourth heavenly tribulation. Their strength had increased several times and they were on a completely different level. The two true bodies were exposed to the fourth thunder tide of the fourth heavenly tribulation and instantly felt a bone-deep pain. The dragon phoenix true body reverted to his true form, and his skin was protected by countless tough scales that were invulnerable to weapons, fire, and water. However, against the scouring of the azure thunder tide, blood began to seep out of the dragon phoenix true body's body. Endless power of the thunder tribulation surged into the dragon phoenix true body's stamina and destroyed his life force. The Qinglian true body was even more miserable. In terms of physical strength, the Qinglian true body was still a level weaker than the dragon phoenix true body. Under the scouring of the fourth thunder tide, the hair of the Qinglian true body was disheveled and her skin was charred black from the electricity. Blood splattered everywhere and no one knew how much pain and damage she was enduring. Thankfully, the recovery capabilities of the Qinglian true body were shocking. Her life force was endless and she was reborn from the destruction, recovering her injuries furiously. Boom! The fifth thunder tide descended. It was even more turbulent and terrifying with a terrifying might. The dragon phoenix true body could barely stand upright. The scarlet scales on his body fell off one after another under the scouring of the thunder tide and were stained with blood. Without the protection of the scales, the flesh of the dragon phoenix true body was completely exposed to the thunder and was mangled by the thunder tribulation. However, the dragon phoenix true body was still trying his best to grit his teeth and perseverance. His eyes were filled with determination. This was a tribulation but also an opportunity. As long as he could survive it, he would undergo a huge transformation. Only by being tempered by such a powerful heavenly tribulation could he have a better foundation and establish himself in the upper realm. The green lotus true body was covered in wounds from the lightning tribulation. Its skin was like cracked tree bark, falling off in large patches. The flesh and blood of the green lotus true body was scorched black under the scouring of the thunder tide, and thick smoke billowed. His, Qinglian's true body was severely injured, but he did not show any signs of defeat or fear. Instead, he roared into the skies and his essence spirit burst forth with a powerful spirit consciousness on the creation lotus platform. The creation lotus platform spun continuously, emitting wisps of life force that nourished the flesh of Qinglian's true body. Heavens! This is only the fifth thunder tribulation of the 49 heavenly tribulations, and it's already so powerful. What kind of terrifying power will the following thunder tribulations unleash? Not to mention this terrifying thunder tide, even a strand of lightning in this thunder tide is enough to turn us into ashes. A ruler muttered to himself with a shocked expression. I'm afraid Wu Huang's 2 true bodies won't be able to make it through. Another ruler sighed. Many experts, including the storyteller, could clearly see that Wu Huang had already reached his limit and there were still 4 more thunder tides. Boom. As everyone thought about it, the 6th thunder tide descended. Bang. The Dragon Phoenix true body and Qinglian's true body were sent flying by the thunder tide and large amounts of blood splattered from their bodies. The 2 true bodies bobbed in the thunder tide and the bones in their bodies crackled. They were almost shattered by the thunder tide. Qinglian's true body coughed out large mouthfuls of blood. His face was pale as he recovered his injuries frantically. Boom. The 7th thunder tide arrived. The Dragon Phoenix true body shuddered and spat out a large mouthful of blood. Against the impact of the 7th thunder tide, his organs were severely injured and his life force was almost destroyed. Qinglian's true body was in an even more miserable state. Her flesh was washed clean by the terrifying thunder tide, leaving only a jade-green humanoid skeleton that floated in the thunder tide. The bones of Qinglian's true body were all made from Qinglian's stem back then. They emitted specks of light and were crystal clear like jade. She's not dead yet? The emperors were dumbfounded. The storyteller's gaze focused slightly as he saw an essence spirit that shone with divine light in the jade-green skull. Under the baptism of the thunder tide, it became increasingly condensed. Wu Huang was still persevering. Boom! The 8th thunder tide swept over, creating torrential waves. The wings of the Dragon Phoenix true body were broken and more than half of his bones were shattered. His flesh and blood began to fall in the thunder tide and his life force was gradually draining as well. He could not hold on any longer. Qinglian's true body was in an even more miserable state. Her skeleton was scattered by the thunder tide and only hovered around the creation lotus platform under the control of Qinglian's essence spirit. If one's body was destroyed in the thunder tide, there was no chance of rebirth from a single drop of blood. The life force of all flesh and blood would be destroyed by the thunder tide. Furthermore, the essence spirits of the 2 true bodies could not be protected against the thunder tide. The skull of Qinglian's essence spirit had already been shattered by the thunder tide and only the creation lotus platform was left with a resplendent glow, protecting the essence spirit and holding on with all its might. Everyone watched intently and had long forgotten to breathe. Boom! The 9th thunder tide descended. The bones and organs of the Dragon Phoenix true body shattered and its life force drained. It could not withstand the baptism of the 9th thunder tide at all. A bronze square tripod that was 10 feet tall flew out from the glabella of the Dragon Phoenix true body and welcomed the thunder tide in the skies. Boom! The bronze square tripod collided with the thunder tide and let out a deafening bang. The thunder tide dissipated and transformed into countless lightning arcs that descended from the firmaments and surrounded the Dragon Phoenix true body. Roar! The Dragon Phoenix true body reared its head and roared into the skies, standing up from the thunder tide. The most terrifying power of the 9th thunder tide had already been withstood by the bronze square tripod. The remaining lightning was not enough to pose a threat to the Dragon Phoenix true body. The Dragon Phoenix true body was invigorated and condensed its blood chi once more. Countless bolts of lightning tore through the world, circling around it like thousands of divine dragons. Although the Dragon Phoenix true body looked miserable, it managed to survive with the help of the bronze square tripod. However, it was different for Qinglian's true body. Qinglian's true body sent out all her Dharma treasures. The other Dharma treasures turned into ashes instantly in the thunder tribulation. Although the human emperor's seal was fine, it was dimmed by the thunder tide and drowned in it. Those Dharma treasures could not defend against the 9th thunder tribulation at all. Right in front of everyone, Qinglian's true body was drowned by the 9th thunder tide instantly. Her essence spirit, flesh and bones were turned into ashes without a corpse left. 2K Reading Network. Chapter 1780. Almost everyone thought that Qinglian's true body had already died in the 9 heavenly tribulation. Only Wu Dao's true body and the Dragon Phoenix true body knew that Qinglian's true body was not dead. The three true bodies could sense each other. Wu Dao's true body and the Dragon Phoenix true body could sense that the aura of Qinglian's true body was in the blazing lightning tide. However, even Wu Dao's true body did not know how Qinglian's true body could survive the lightning tide. Suddenly, Wu Dao's true body exclaimed softly. Even with the bronze square tripod, the Dragon Phoenix true body was nearly destroyed by the 9 heavenly tribulation. Although he survived it, his aura was weak and he almost lost half his life. But now, the aura of Qinglian's true body was gradually rising. Something's wrong. Right then, the storyteller old man also noticed something amiss. He stared at the lightning tide in the distance and frowned. If Qinglian's true body died, the lightning tribulation should have dissipated. Why is it still surging? Everyone focused their gazes as well. In the blazing blue tide, a strange yellow light was faintly discernible. Gradually, the yellow light became clearer. Everyone's eyes widened. In the lightning tide, there was a bare green lotus platform floating. On the lotus platform sat Su Zimo's essence spirit. Although the creation lotus platform was drowned by the 9 heavenly tribulation, Qinglian's essence spirit did not die. Strange. An emperor whispered, Qinglian's branches and leaves have withered and her lotus petals have shattered from the impact of the lightning tide. All that's left is a dilapidated lotus platform. How can it protect her essence spirit? Another ruler noted, there seems to be a yellow light shield around the fate lotus platform. It looks like yellow sand is spreading around it. Just now, the strange yellow light that everyone saw was reflected by the yellow sand. What is this thing? It can actually withstand the baptism of the 49 heavenly tribulations? It looks very ordinary, as if it's just a piece of lus. All the emperors were bewildered. Even with their knowledge, they didn't know what this lump of yellow sand was. At this moment, even the divine sense of Wu Dao's true body was unable to penetrate the barrier of the yellow sand. The green lotus true body actually experienced the greatest transformation in the lightning tide of the 9 heavenly tribulation. Su Zimo's Qinglian real body had long since grown to peak rank 8. Even though he later obtained many opportunities and comprehended peerless abilities like burning the heavens and boiling the seas, Qinglian's true body showed no signs of breaking through. Su Zimo wasn't sure how Qinglian would break through and reach the 9th level. And in the process of transcending tribulation, Qinglian's true body was baptized by the thunder tribulation and constantly fused with heaven and earth origin energy. Finally, a qualitative change occurred. The heavenly tribulation and heaven and earth origin energy were the key to Qinglian's breakthrough to rank 9. Under the repeated baptism and tempering of the heavenly tribulation, Qinglian's true body's flesh, blood, tendons and bones became flawless and condensed without any impurities. Her essence spirit was even more pure and resplendent. Under such circumstances, the fusion of heaven and earth origin energy caused Qinglian's true body to transform and break through to rank 9. Creation Qinglian seized the creation of heaven and earth. Towards the end of its growth, every time it transformed, it would give birth to many mysteries. Back then, the grade 7 creation Qinglian allowed Su Zimo to release dermic arts continuously. The grade 8 creation Qinglian gave birth to many mystical abilities. As for the grade 9 creation Qinglian, she gave birth to an utmost treasure of heaven and earth, the ordinary yellow sand that everyone was looking at. After creation Qinglian grew to rank 9, Su Zimo's essence spirit of Qinglian also obtained an incomplete memory. Many ancient races had their own inherited memories. Creation Qinglian was unique in heaven and earth, and it was only normal for her to have inheritance memories. The inheritance memories recorded the origin of the yellow sand. The yellow sand was no ordinary item. It was known as the 9 heavens breath soil and was the ancestral source of earth. It was extremely mysterious and had unparalleled defense, born from chaos. A portion of the breath soil evolved into the 9 heavens while a portion of it gave birth to Qinglian. Although there was only a small portion of the nine heavens breath soil, it could expand and spread rapidly with endless changes. It could change size at will and was tough, dense, and invulnerable. Of course, that portion of inheritance memories was not complete. Su Zimo had to test out the miraculous effects of the nine heavens breath soil himself. Now that Qinglian's true body had grown to grade 9, that utmost treasure was created and materialized immediately, shrouding the surroundings of the creation lotus platform and protecting Su Zimo's essence spirit within. Although the thunder tide outside was surging violently, the impact was completely blocked outside by the nine heaven life soil. In the middle of the nine heavens breath soil, the initially bare creation lotus platform began to exude vitality. There were 81 lotus holes in the middle of the lotus platform. Those lotus holes spewed out streams of green light that dyed the heavens and repelled the surrounding thunder tide in a bedazzling manner. A moment later, the thunder tide gradually retreated. The thunderclouds in the skies gradually dispersed as well. Light could be seen above East Ocean once more. The dull and shuddering pressure dissipated as well, and the azure skies reappeared above the firmaments. When they saw that, the living beings of the myriad races heaved a sigh of relief. It was over. Wu Huang's tribulation attracted 49 heavenly tribulations, a total of 36 thunderbolts. This scene would definitely be recorded in history. Under countless gazes, Qinglian grew out of the nine heavens breath soil once more. Her lotus leaves were sparkling and gigantic lotus petals bloomed one after another, flickering with light. Finally, Qinglian vanished and Su Zimo's figure appeared. Dressed in green robes, his black hair draped over his shoulders, and he had delicate features. His aura had already become unfathomable. Initially, the flesh and blood of the rank 8 Qinglian's true body could not compare to the Dragon Phoenix true body. Among the 3 true bodies, the Qinglian's true body had the weakest combat strength. But now that the Qinglian's true body had transformed to a rank 9, her combat strength was definitely not weaker than the Dragon Phoenix true body. Of course, the greatest gain of the Qinglian's true body's growth to rank 9 was the nine heavens breath soil. On the other side, the Dragon Phoenix true body barely managed to hold on with the help of the bronze square tripod. His body was severely injured and his essence chi was damaged. He was still trying his best to recover from his injuries. Wu Dao's true body's tribulation was the calmest and smoothest. Even the final 49 heavenly tribulations did not pose much of a threat to Wu Dao's true body. Right then, 3 milky white beams of light descended from the firmaments and shrouded Su Zimo's 3 true bodies with a strange power. Everyone was astonished as they watched the scene unfold before them. The milky white beams of light emitted powerful life force that surged into the body of the Dragon Phoenix true body. The injuries of the Dragon Phoenix true body healed at a speed visible to the naked eye. In less than 10 breaths, the Dragon Phoenix true body had already recovered. At the same time, the 3 milky white beams of light were filled with a powerful suction force that wanted to soar into the air with the 3 true bodies and soar away. The 3 beams of light seemed to be a passageway that connected the upper and lower worlds. The Dragon Phoenix true body and Qinglian's true body did not resist the power. They relaxed their bodies and followed the suction force. Under the gazes of the living beings of the myriad races, they slowly rose into the air and flew towards the unknown upper world. Chapter 1781. The Dragon Phoenix true body and Qinglian true body turned into 2 spots of light and disappeared into the ends of the firmaments before long. The 2 milky white beams of light dissipated as well. It was only when the experts of Tianhuang mainland retracted their gazes that they noticed something amiss. The 3rd milky white beam of light was still connected to heaven and earth, shrouding Wu Dao's true body. Wu Dao's true body did not leave and was still standing in midair, gazing into the skies. What's Wu Huang's 3rd true body doing? I'm not sure. He seems to be resisting the guidance of the upper world. Many experts were shocked and discussed fervently. The milky white beam of light burned brighter and a powerful suction force acted on Wu Dao's true body, wanting to take him away from Tianhuang mainland. However, Wu Dao's true body remained motionless. Both sides were wrestling and Wu Dao's true body channeled his blood qi slowly. In the end, it even conjured a bloodline phenomenon, a gigantic furnace that burned furiously in midair, resisting the guidance force. Before the tribulation transcendence, Su Zimo had already made his decision. The Dragon Phoenix true body and Qinglian true body transcended the tribulations at the same time and ascended to the upper world. As for Wu Dao's true body, he chose to stay behind in Tianhuang mainland. Firstly, it was unknown what realm he would ascend to, what living beings he would encounter and what dangers he would encounter upon ascending to the upper world. If he left Wu Dao's true body in Tianhuang mainland, he would not be considered dead even if the Dragon Phoenix true body and Qinglian true body encountered any mishaps. One day, Wu Dao's true body would still be able to ascend and return to the upper world. Secondly, Su Zimo had many old friends in Tianhuang mainland. For example, Xiaoning had only just entered the Mahayana realm. If Xiaoning wanted to transcend the tribulation, she would have to cultivate for a long time. Su Zimo was the most worried about Xiaoning. Of course, apart from Xiaoning, there was also Monkey, Night Spirit and other close friends such as Little Fatty, Jicheng Tian, Leng Rou and Lin Xuanji. There was also Nian Qi and Momo, his two disciples. With so many old friends in Tianhuang mainland, Su Zimo could not be at ease if he were to leave just like that. Thirdly, Su Zimo wanted to sever some karma. What is Wu Huang thinking? Why is he resisting the guidance of the upper realm? A wave of voices erupted from the crowd. I guess he's worried about some old friends on Heaven Wasteland, someone guessed. Another person said, but if that's the case, why go through the tribulation? Now that he's gone through the 49 heavenly tribulations, he's chosen to go against the guidance of the upper realm. This isn't just defying the heavens, it's challenging the rules of the heavenly Tao. That's right. This is a dangerous move, and it is very likely that it will attract the punishment of the heavens. Transcending the tribulation was a necessary step. Only by transcending the tribulation could Wu Dao's true body continue to cultivate. Back then, when the powerhouses from the upper realm descended, they were all killed by Dai Yu, leaving behind many treasures and cultivation resources. However, without undergoing the tribulation, it was impossible to refine and absorb the treasures. Wu Dao's true body wanted to continue cultivating in the lower realm. Zimo, why are you doing this? Among the crowd, a woman in pale yellow robes looked at the figure above the East Ocean and murmured worriedly. Sister, could he have stayed for you? Beside her, a girl in pink with a veil asked softly. The yellow-robed woman frowned and pursed her red lips. Her heart was completely focused on the person above the East Ocean, and she did not hear what the girl beside her said. Within the milky white beam, the guidance power was still increasing. Wu Dao's true body did not relax in the slightest bit. After the bloodline phenomenon, his 4 fate wheels were expanded as well, forming 4 purple halos behind him that almost destroyed the milky white beam of light. The clash between the two powers was silent. However, everyone from Heaven Wasteland was nervous and their palms were sweating. This was because the space above the East Sea was crazily twisting, shattering, and collapsing under the confrontation of these two forces. Old man, what will happen if Brother Su continues resisting? Lin Xuanji could not help but ask. The old storyteller said slowly with a grim expression, nobody knows what will happen. After all, something like this has never happened before. Pausing for a moment, the old storyteller sighed softly. Wu Huang is going against the will of the heavens and challenging the rules of the heavenly Tao. Although the old storyteller did not continue, Lin Xuanji's heart sank. He could tell that the old storyteller was implying that Su Zimo's actions would bring about some trouble. Before long, the milky white beam of light that pierced through the heavens and earth dissipated gradually. Wu Dao's true body appeared once more and stood above the East Ocean. Although his face was slightly pale, his gaze was still calm. This resistance took a huge toll on Wu Dao's true body as well. He had just transcended the 49 heavenly tribulations and was almost exhausted after resisting the guidance power of the upper realm. Is it over? The guidance failed and they gave up, allowing Wu Huang to stay in the lower realm? The living beings of the 10,000 races had different expressions. This scene seemed to be completely different from what they had imagined. All of a sudden, a crack appeared in the firmaments. An extremely terrifying might emanated from the crack with a biting, killing intent that seemed like it wanted to destroy everything. Snap! There was a deafening bang. A purple bolt of lightning descended from the skies and descended onto Wu Dao's true body instantly. Wherever the purple lightning passed, the world was sliced into two. The living beings of the 10,000 races were shocked. The emperors were shocked. Nobody could describe the power of that purple lightning. The might of that purple lightning was not as shocking as the 49 heavenly tribulations. However, the combined power of the 49 heavenly tribulations was far inferior to the killing power of that purple lightning. That purple lightning seemed like a punishment from the heavens that wanted to destroy all living beings that dared to challenge the will of the heavens and the rules of the heavenly Tao. It was way too fast. The moment the purple light flashed, the purple lightning had already landed on Wu Dao's true body. Boom! Streaks of blood burst forth from the resplendent purple light. Right in front of everyone, Wu Dao's true body was destroyed in body and spirit by the purple lightning without a corpse left. All the living beings that saw that opened their mouths instinctively and widened their eyes. The emperors even forgot to breathe and stood rooted to the ground. All the emperors had witnessed the strength of Wu Dao's true body before. Even the 49 heavenly tribulations could not destroy Wu Dao's true body. However, that purple lightning destroyed it with ease and destroyed his soul. A moment later, the crack in the firmaments closed slowly. It was as though the purple lightning just now was just an illusion of the living beings of the 10,000 races. However, the supreme figure above the East Ocean that looked down on the world was completely destroyed by that purple lightning and became a thing of the past. Sigh. Many experts shook their heads and sighed. Wu Huang has clearly succeeded in transcending the tribulation, but he still wants to provoke the heavens. This is truly a little... He can't blame others for his ending. No matter what, Wu Huang's two true bodies succeeded in transcending the tribulation and have already ascended to the upper realm. At least his two true bodies were preserved. It can be considered a blessing in disguise. The living beings of the 10,000 races discussed animatedly and lingered around the East Ocean for a long time. Some experts even wanted to search for the storage bag of Wu Dao's true body but found nothing. Under that kind of power, the storage pouch would have probably been reduced to ashes. Many experts thought so. In fact, the moment the purple lightning descended on Wu Dao's true body, under the cover of the blazing purple light, no one noticed that a wisp of silver light fell into the East Ocean and disappeared. Chapter 1782. As Su Zimo's two true bodies ascended and Wu Dao's true body was destroyed in body and spirit by the purple heavenly punishment, the living beings of the 10,000 races lingered around the East Ocean for a long time before dispersing. This time round, Wu Huang's tribulation transcendence brought about a huge impact on the living beings of the 10,000 races. Some living beings even chose to sit by the East Ocean and comprehend the Tao. Some experts completely gave up on the thought of transcending the tribulation and ascending. However, some people's Tao hearts were even more resolute. Nobody noticed that a silver light floated and fell into the depths of the East Ocean. Su Zimo's tribulation transcendence was enveloped by the tribulation clouds and no living being dared to linger in the East Ocean region. Naturally, no living being in the deep sea discovered the existence of the silver light. It was a silver mask. The silver mask came from the upper world and landed on Tianhuang mainland at the same time as the bronze square tripod. Furthermore, there was a drop of blood with sentience in the mask. It caused the mask to turn blood red. However, the drop of blood was imprisoned by Wu Dao's true body's martial soul fire and red lotus karmic fire, causing the mask to return to its original appearance. Since Wu Dao's true body decided to defy the will of the heavenly Tao, he had already predicted that a heavenly punishment would descend. Although his combat strength was invincible in the lower realm, this heavenly punishment could definitely destroy him easily. Therefore, the silver mask was Wu Dao's true body's final trump card. When the heavenly punishment descended, Wu Dao's true body could already sense that he could not withstand the impact of the heavenly punishment. Therefore, Wu Dao's true body made a prompt decision and hid a drop of essence blood in the silver mask. True enough. His body was struck by the heavenly punishment until nothing was left. However, the silver mask was safe and sound against the heavenly punishment and fell into the deep sea. At the bottom of the East Ocean, a drop of essence blood suddenly flew out from the silver mask. A powerful divine power spread, and in the blink of an eye, Wu Dao's true body condensed once more with a terrifying aura. Rebirth from a drop of blood. Normally speaking, the rules of the heavenly Dao did not allow the power of the upper realm to appear in the lower realm. Therefore, after the tribulation, the cultivator would be allowed to ascend to the upper realm. Furthermore, it was difficult for the powerhouses from the upper realm to descend. Even if they did, they would be severely punished. However, Wu Dao's actions were tantamount to concealing the secrets of heaven and earth, deceiving the heavens and earth. His tribulation allowed the vital qi of heaven and earth to cleanse his flesh, blood, and primordial spirit. While he obtained the power of the upper realm, he remained in the lower realm. The existence of Wu Dao's true body was originally an anomaly, jumping out of the 3 realms and out of the 5 elements. However, as long as Wu Dao's original body cultivated, it would leave a mark in the lower realm and enter the cycle of reincarnation. Therefore, Wu Dao's tribulation would also be sensed by the heavenly Dao, and a heavenly tribulation would descend. And this time, Wu Dao's true body used heavenly punishment to erase his traces once again and jump out of samsara. Wu Dao's main body looked calm. He casually picked up the silver mask and gently swiped his palm in front of him. A deep crack appeared in the deep sea, but the seawater was unable to flow in. Wu Dao's true body flashed and disappeared into the depths of the eastern sea. The crack closed, and before long, peace returned to the bottom of the eastern sea. North region, Pingyang town. Suddenly, a crack appeared in the courtyard of Su Zimo's residence. Wu Dao's true body appeared and walked out slowly. Young master. Not far away, an obedient and tender boy stepped forward and called out softly with a joyful expression. The boy was none other than Tao Yao. Momo carried a storage bag and handed it to Wu Dao's true body, saying happily, "Here, young master." Wu Dao's true body only informed a single person of his decision, Momo. Before Wu Dao's true body transcended the tribulation, he had made some arrangements. He imparted the earth-slaying sword art to Qinglian's true body and left behind the essence condensation pills, essence spirit stones, and the imprisoned drop of blood in the storage bags of the fallen experts of the upper realm. In order to prevent any accidents, Wu Dao's true body handed the storage bag to Momo for safekeeping. Indeed, the heavenly punishment descended and destroyed almost everything. Wu Dao's true body did not even have a corpse left. If he carried a storage bag with him, he would have been reduced to ashes a long time ago. Wu Dao's true body received the storage bag, and with his spirit consciousness, he captured the imprisoned drop of blood. At that moment, the prison formed by the martial spirit fire and red lotus karmic fire was still unable to harm the core of the drop of blood and could only imprison it within. "Who are you?" Wu Dao's true body asked. "What's the origin of that silver mask and bronze square tripod?" The drop of blood was motionless in the purgatory and did not respond. "Answer whatever I ask so that you won't suffer." Wu Dao's true body said indifferently. When the drop of blood heard the threat of Wu Dao's true body, it finally could not hold it in and sneered, "You're not a threat to me with your strength. I'm the great Lord Heavenly Wolf. If you let me go right now, I can impart to you some cultivation techniques and secret skills that will be enough for you to use for the rest of your life. If you insist on being stubborn, when my master is born, he'll definitely skin you alive and grind your bones to dust." Heavenly Wolf? Wu Dao's true body raised his brow slightly and asked, "Who's your master?" "My master is the great." As though it realized something, the Heavenly Wolf shut up hurriedly. Wu Dao's true body smiled indifferently. "It's fine if you don't say. I'll let you try out the method that I just comprehended." As he said that, Wu Dao's true body channeled his essence spirit and pinched his fingertips, igniting a blue flame. This cluster of flames was filled with a heart-palpitating aura that seemed familiar. It was not a divine power. The aura was extremely similar to the heavenly tribulation that just now had descended. What is that? The heavenly wolf dodged and hollered. Wu Dao's true body said, "This is a power that I comprehended when I was transcending the tribulation. I call it the tribulation fire." Tribulations were an extremely special power. Nobody knew how they were created. Tribulations seem to have existed since ancient times and were born with heaven and earth. They came in all sorts of forms and were everywhere. At the Mahayana realm, there would be a divine power tribulation. If one wanted to ascend, there would be a heavenly tribulation. At the upper world, there might be other tribulations. The 49 heavenly tribulations were not much of a threat to Wu Dao's true body. That was the reason why he could comprehend the source of the power of the heavenly tribulation while transcending it and condense it in the form of flames. The heavenly tribulation descended in the form of lightning. However, Wu Dao's true body controlled the heavenly tribulation in the form of flames. In other words, if Wu Dao's true body wanted to, he could even replace the heavenly Dao and send down the heavenly tribulation on Tianhuang mainland. The tribulation fire that Wu Dao's true body condensed was comparable to the power of the 49 heavenly tribulations. The fourth heavenly tribulation of the 49 heavenly tribulations was sky blue in color. Furthermore, as the cultivation of Wu Dao's true body advanced, the power of the tribulation fire would continue to rise. Wu Dao's true body tapped gently with his fingertip and fused the sky blue tribulation fire into his flame purgatory in midair. Apart from the martial spirit fire and red lotus karmic fire, there was now another tribulation fire in the purgatory. Swoosh! The flames burned brightly. The heavenly wolf shrieked in agony. Book Abode Reading Website. Chapter 1783. The three balls of flames burned and refined the drop of blood at the same time. The heavenly wolf howled and could not hold on any longer. If it was just the power of the lower realm, no matter how many divine powers Wu Dao's true body comprehended or fused, it would be difficult to threaten the heavenly wolf. That was why the heavenly wolf was fearless. But now Wu Dao's true body was transcending the tribulation and fusing with heaven and earth essence qi to obtain the power of the upper realm. At the same time, he deceived the world and used the heavenly punishment to erase his traces in the lower realm. This ball of tribulation fire could already threaten the heavenly wolf. As time passed, Wu Dao's true body would fuse the heaven and earth essence qi with the martial soul fire and red lotus karmic fire. The power of these two balls of flames would also increase greatly. At that time, he would really be burned to ashes. Wu Dao's true body had a calm expression and a deep gaze as he said faintly, "You joined forces with the blood demon and caused so many calamities in Tianhuang mainland. My patience with you is limited. That has nothing to do with me at all." The heavenly wolf shrieked, "I only imparted some cultivation techniques to him and guided his cultivation. I never participated in his actions." Wu Dao's true body did not speak, but the flames in the purgatory burned brighter and brighter. Under the boundless starry sky, two milky white beams of light pierced through heaven and earth. Two figures were rapidly flying towards the upper realm. It was a strange feeling. Su Zimo felt as though he had passed through layers of barriers and was getting closer and closer to the vast starry sky above his head as he flew towards another world. At that moment, the two true bodies showed no signs of separating and were not far away. On the other side, the injuries of the dragon phoenix true body had already healed under the healing of the milky white beam of light. At that moment, it was holding the bronze square tripod and observing it carefully. After Su Zimo obtained the bronze square tripod, although he had always tried to refine it into his destiny dermic weapon, there was no reaction from it. Su Zimo could not use the bronze square tripod to release any divine powers or dermic arts. Therefore he rarely used it. Su Zimo had also tried to repair the bronze square tripod. Although the bronze square cauldron was covered in cracks and almost shattered beyond recognition, it was still incomparably hard and impervious to fire and water. There was no way to repair it. Now that it had undergone the baptism of the 49 heavenly tribulations, the green bronze square cauldron was also infused with a lot of yuan qi of heaven and earth. Finally, the cauldron showed some reaction. A glimmer of light shone through the cracks of the cauldron. The dragon phoenix true body stared fixedly at the bronze square cauldron and observed it carefully. Gradually, he discovered a trace of abnormality. There seemed to be 4 patterns engraved on the 4 outer walls of the bronze square cauldron. However, the cauldron was so badly damaged that Su Zimo couldn't tell what kind of patterns were carved on the cauldron walls. Qinglian's true body, who was not far away from the dragon phoenix's true body, was looking down with a hint of shock in her eyes. He was getting further and further away from Tianhuang mainland. Tianhuang mainland shrank in his vision and gradually turned into a spot of light. At that moment, Su Zimo looked down and saw that in the vast universe below, there were hundreds of millions of spots of light like the sands of the Ganges River. They were innumerable. These spots of light must be the hundreds of millions of minor kiliocosms. Su Zimo thought to himself. It was these endless minor kiliocosms that formed the entire lower realm. Tianhuang mainland was only a grain of sand in the vast Ganges River. It was insignificant and nothing compared to the entire lower realm. It was only at this moment that Su Zimo truly understood what the human emperor had said to him. In the upper realm, there were countless paragons and monster incarnates. Most of the emperors of the lower realm who ascended to the upper realm were reduced to nothingness. There's a saying in the Buddhist scriptures that a single grain of sand is a world. Could these hundreds of millions of minor kiliocosms really be a handful of sand scattered by some important figure? Su Zimo's thoughts ran wild. Right then, a gigantic shadow swept past him. Su Zimo was shocked and turned over. Through the milky white beam of light, Su Zimo could clearly see that the gigantic shadow was an incomparably massive star. The surface of the star was uneven with undulating mountains and ravines. Strong winds howled and sand flew everywhere. There was no sign of life at all. However, the star still exuded an extremely vast power that seemed like it could devour all living beings. In front of the star, Su Zimo was like a speck of dust. This was a true star. In Tianhuang mainland, all living beings looked up at the starry skies. Right now, Su Zimo was truly beside a star. Su Zimo's vision continued to expand. In the vast void, there were countless celestial bodies floating. Some of them were round while others resembled floating continents. He could even sense the fluctuations of life on some of the celestial bodies. There were even many strange living beings that ran out from some of the continents and looked at Su Zimo, who was ascending curiously. The entire world and universe were incomparably vast. There were countless living beings and races of all shapes and forms. All of these living beings and races were playing out different legends in their respective worlds. Su Zimo was only one of them. Right then, the milky white beam of light above the dragon phoenix true body suddenly shifted and sped in a certain direction. As for Qinglian's true body, it seemed like it was pulled by an inexplicable gravitational force and was ascending in another direction. Su Zimo's heart skipped a beat. Dai Yu had once said that the dragon phoenix true body had the highest chance of ascending to one of the 3 worlds, the dragon world, Wutong world, or great wilderness. There was a chance that Qinglian's true body could ascend to the heavenly realm. The current scene should be a sign that the 2 true bodies were ascending to 2 different worlds. Su Zimo had a calm expression. He could only allow the power to guide him through this process and could not do anything. He could not choose which world to ascend to. All of a sudden, Su Zimo's heart skipped a beat, as though something terrifying was about to descend upon him. Su Zimo's expression changed. He had never felt such a terrifying sense of trepidation ever since he started cultivating. No matter how strong his opponents were back then, he did not have such a huge reaction against the assassination of a half-martial ancestor at the Void Reversion Realm. All of a sudden, an unimaginably enormous pressure suddenly descended upon them. Cracks appeared on the milky white beam of light that enveloped the 2 true bodies against the might and let out a shuddering sound. Boom! Immediately after, a loud bang sounded above Su Zimo's head. He subconsciously raised his head and looked up. He saw a huge palm coming toward his two true bodies. Su Zimo's pupils constricted violently. The terror of that palm had already exceeded his imagination. Just now, the stars that floated around him were as insignificant as gravel against that palm. Bang, bang, bang. Before the palm truly descended, the stars and celestial bodies in the surrounding void shattered one after another and turned into ashes. The living beings within the stars and celestial bodies could not resist at all and were killed in the blink of an eye. Chapter 1784. A single palm destroyed many celestial bodies as though they were twigs. This power was completely beyond Su Zimo's understanding. The cruelty behind this caused Su Zimo's heart to turn cold. The lives of the living beings on the celestial bodies were worthless in the eyes of the owner of the palm, and they were all killed without hesitation. It was clear that the palm was targeting him. Su Zimo truly could not imagine how he would attract such a terrifying enemy before ascending to the upper world. More than that, he did not expect to encounter such a calamity right before he ascended. In other words, this person had already predicted his ascension and came to kill him in advance. This person knew very well that if Su Zimo were to ascend to another realm, he might not be able to kill Su Zimo. Su Zimo's eyes widened. He could not move at all against the aura of the gigantic palm. Before the terrifying palm truly descended, the might of its aura alone was enough to restrain Su Zimo completely. A sense of helplessness surged through Su Zimo's heart. This was an absolute suppression in terms of strength. Even when he faced the descent of the experts of the upper world back then, he did not feel this way. Fufufu, suddenly, a cold laughter sounded from the cosmos. "And we meet again." The voice sounded once more. Su Zimo was shocked. This voice was rather familiar to him. "It's that person." A figure flashed through Su Zimo's mind and his heart sank. Back then, the experts of the upper world descended on Tianhuang mainland one after another. In the end, a white-robed man who called himself this king appeared. In fact, he could even locate Qinglian's true body on Tianhuang mainland with a single thought and was extremely strong. Furthermore, he found out from Dai Yu that the one who descended on Tianhuang mainland was only a clone of the white-robed man. Dai Yu had also told Su Zimo before that this person had a high status in the heavenly realm and could be conferred the title of king. Unfortunately, that person encountered Dai Yu and his clone was destroyed. Furthermore, Dai Yu even stole his Dao fruit. Now, the Dao fruit was in the hands of Wu Dao's true body. Dai Yu had warned Su Zimo to be careful of this person if he ascended to the heaven realm. However, Su Zimo did not expect that before he could ascend to the upper realm, this person had already lost his patience and attacked him in advance. "I don't care what kind of relationship you have with that Xue Dai. She destroyed one of my avatars and I will settle this debt with you." The white-shirt man's voice could be heard once again. His tone was cold and filled with resentment. Su Zimo was clearly aware that the white-robed man had probably not only come for revenge, but also for Qinglian's true body. As expected, the man in white said coldly, "I originally planned to raise your Dragon Phoenix avatar as an immortal pet. However, since my avatar has been destroyed, your avatar will have to be buried with me. Don't worry, I won't kill your true body of Qinglian right away. I'm going to refine this true body of yours into an immortal pill for cultivation." As soon as he said that, the gigantic palm slowly closed. A terrifying pressure instantly descended on the Dragon Phoenix true body. Crack, crack. The sound of bones cracking could be heard from the body of the Dragon Phoenix true body. Pain that was everywhere, a pain that penetrated deep into the soul. The Dragon Phoenix true body could not move at all. Under this power, the bones in its body shattered bit by bit and its life force was extinguished. During this process, although the Dragon Phoenix essence spirit could not move, it was in an incomparable situation and felt the intense pain coming from all parts of its body. Under this immense pressure, the Dragon Phoenix true body had already begun to deform and distort. With this white-shirt man's methods, He could probably crush the dragon phoenix true body to death with a single finger. And now, the white shirt man was slowly destroying the dragon phoenix true body to torture Su Zimo. He wanted to let Su Zimo personally experience this pain and despair. The scales of the dragon phoenix true body had already turned into powder. In just a short dozen breaths, the bones of the dragon phoenix true body were completely crushed by this terrifying power. For the dragon phoenix true body, these dozen breaths felt as though hundreds of years had passed. The dragon phoenix true body wanted to shout and vent, but it could not do so. It could only endure the pain silently. Before long, the destructive pressure seeped into the organs of the dragon phoenix true body. Even the scales, flesh and bones could not withstand this power. In the blink of an eye, the organs of the dragon phoenix true body were shattered into pieces and there was no life force left. The dragon phoenix true body was stained with blood and was no longer in shape. It was almost squeezed into a blood-colored ball of flesh by this powerful force. Fufufu, the white shirt man's laughter continued. He seemed to be very satisfied with his masterpiece. It's a pity for the dragon phoenix bloodline. Suddenly, another voice sounded in the cosmos. It's just a beast that ascended from the lower world. There's nothing to pity. This humanoid creation, Qinglian, is the true treasure. The white shirt man replied. Although Su Zimo's vision was blocked by the gigantic hand above his head, it was clear that there was another person in the cosmos apart from the white shirt man. Suddenly, the voice exclaimed softly and said, "This cauldron can actually resist your power and hasn't been completely destroyed yet? What kind of lousy cauldron is this? It's broken into such a state?" The white shirt man also said. He seemed to be a little confused. At this moment, in the cosmos, another powerful force suddenly burst out and collided with the white shirt man's palm. Boom! The two forces collided and exploded with a loud bang. The surrounding cosmos trembled slightly. King Yunyu, as an immortal king, how can you be so pathetic? How dare you interfere with the ascension of a living being from the lower world? Then, a woman's voice came from the cosmos. The white shirt man snorted. Where did this crazy woman come from? You have no right to comment on how I do things. You can't stop me. Although that was the case, this woman's interference and confrontation with King Yunyu made Su Zimo feel lighter. Although the suffocating aura of death still surrounded him, he was temporarily freed from the state of confinement and regained his mobility. Without hesitation, the dragon phoenix primordial spirit broke away from the broken dragon phoenix real body and hid in the bronze square cauldron. Then, it sped toward Qinglian real body. The physical body of the dragon phoenix real body was already dead. It was completely cut off from the dragon phoenix primordial spirit. There was no need to heal it. Rebirth from a drop of blood. The dragon phoenix primordial spirit hid in the bronze square cauldron. He quickly activated his divine power and tried to reform his physical body. However, as soon as he unleashed the power of his divine ability, it immediately dissipated. There was no flesh around the dragon phoenix primordial spirit. Noticing this, Su Zimo's expression turned cold. His heart gradually sank to the bottom. You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.